Snapchat. Who the hell knows what happens in Snapchat?
Everyone's a little child to me, to be honest.
2 minutes 20, a new record.
96% of content you see was AI generated. How do you feel now? Stupid. I won't do that again.
That is a shit way to watch football. Come on, man.
Kick someone off the podcast. Have we done that before?
Did Meg go to Costco today, buddy?
I don't know. I don't think so.
You must have picked up those really big straws that you're clutching.
Maybe the National Grid are quite pleased that doesn't really happen anymore.
They fundamentally don't know what they're doing.
This was my sword in the arsenal. Was this album?
I'm a T-boy. I don't want to turn up too flashy.
This is the T-boy. This is the T-boy.
If I was in marketing, I'd call this colour Diarrhea Sunrise.
Everything has literally gone to share.
Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Last of the Line. We're back and we survived. It's the 12th of March. Winter is ending. Spring is approaching. The days are longer. The mornings are brighter. Unless you're in California, where it's been amazing forever. So this week, we're talking about the strange moment we seem to be living through, where the things we grew up with are quietly disappearing, the shared rituals, the cultural moments, the things everyone used to experience at the same time. So tonight, we're asking whether we might be the last generation to remember things being slightly more collective, or at the very least, slightly less online. Okay? We're also talking about that in their place, we've also got lots of algorithms, endless scrolling, and teenagers who are communicating primarily through platforms none of us fully understand. But either way, welcome back to Last of the Line. How's everyone doing this evening?
Good,
Double
mate.
thumbs up. Right, good.
On your point about not understanding the platforms, I 100% agree with that. I'm probably going to refer to that a little bit tonight, but Snapchat, who the hell knows what happens in Snapchat? Anyway, let's get to that when we come to it. But bloody hell, I'm completely lost.
You're completely lost about what we're doing tonight already.
No, about Snapchat. Honestly,
about Snapchat.
Yeah. You were mentioning about like us not understanding some of the stuff that our kids do, and I mean, I used to be quite techie.
We should wheel the kids in when we have to explain that. It's like, right, Rex, what is Snapchat? Let's tell us what you think it is, and we can respond.
That would be good.
Tell us all the darkest corners.
My mate down the road, she's 50-something, and her primary medium is TikTok. She watches everything on TikTok, and she'll tell us about stuff, and all of us will go, I have no reference to this. None of us have TikTok. None of us know what you're talking about. So all of her stories just fall flat. So like, how are you on TikTok at 55?
What stories would you be looking at on TikTok at the age of 55, who's a mate of an English guy that's much younger?
People, little children dancing. That's what she's watching.
Oh.
Do they have to be little or children?
I mean, everyone's a little child to me, to be honest.
Oh God! All right, before we get too
Not
deep into
weird
that
way.
rabbit hole,
Everyone's younger than me.
You're not nuts.
2 minutes 20, a new record. So fantastic.
Maybe the first question.
Maybe the first one. Should we move swiftly on?
Yeah,
So
we should. Yeah.
Section 2. Are we the last generation to watch TV at the same time as everyone else? So there used to be genuine national TV moments. You watch when something was broadcast or you missed it. And the next day, everyone talks about the same show, whether it's school, work, or the pub. Whereas now, everything's on demand, it's bingeable, and often algorithmically certain. So are we the last generation to experience television as a shared cultural event? Let's go to Dan to kick us off.
Thanks. Good question. I think is an easy answer straight out the bat, and then I'll back myself up. I think, yeah, we probably are. But I think, is it mutually exclusive that like live broadcasting also has to be the point where we share in the same thing? Or is it that there's so much streaming now that the volume of people doing it then creates a moment where you chat on the bus because you've all watched the same thing at the same time? I think that's unlikely. But answering the first question, the Queen's funeral was the last time that I think we as a family sat down and watched live broadcast television. So live sport, not all of us, some of us, that's quite frequent. But the Queen's funeral, I think we all sat down and watched it. And actually we were hosting a barbecue that day, seeing some old mates. And they set up later They didn't go home. They actually went early morning, I think on the Monday, whatever day it was, to take their kids. They ended up staying another night because they ended up staying the entire funeral. How many people watched the Queen's funeral live? The most amount. It's staggering. John, you shared a stat to help us out on this. So like Only Fools and Horses, 24 million people watched it live. Our friends at some generic agent shared that this incredible thing, around 37.5 million people watched at least 3 minutes of the coverage that day. That is incredible.
Well, it's sort of
and I think
incredible,
that-
isn't it? But what happened to the rest of the people? What happened to the other 35 million people in the country? Where are they?
I think that's low. I'm surprised about that.
What?
And
That's
also,
incredibly
you said at
huge.
least three.
That's
You said
massive.
at least 3 minutes. The
At
Queen.
least 3 minutes.
It was on for like 7 hours.
It
right?
was. So yeah. So Shomit, I was trying to find out how long the coverage was for, and I think BBC would have been 7 weeks. I think.
Yeah, it was
Channel
long
4
enough to be a
might-
Netflix series, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. But I don't know. I was pretty impressed with that. And it says that the US attracted 11 million live broadcast watchers worldwide, around 4 billion people. Anyway, answer the question. As a
4
family, that was the
billion
last
people?
one. 4 billion, yeah.
Isn't
Watching
that
it
like half
live.
the globe?
Sorry, what?
Definitely not. Definitely not half the globe. There's 1.4 billion people in India, mate. That's definitely not more.
Yeah,
What
there's
is
8 billion people in the world.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
4
about
billion
not-
would be half.
Sorry, did you say?
4 billion would be half if there's 8 billion people in the world.
Slow
Is
down
that-
there, Professor.
Is that what you said? I thought you said that's nearly everyone in the world.
No, it's
Not
half. Half.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's right.
That's
Yeah.
nuts.
That is nuts. So I do think we might be the last people to do that. I started to sniff around some stats around like streaming stuff, and yeah, it's all about when you want to watch it. It's convenient watching, but I think other than live sport or really big kind of national moments, people aren't getting together to watch things, and that's it. I think we've lost it. I very rarely sit down with a family and all celebrate this thing that we watch together. It's all in isolation. And actually, that's what makes me quite sad that, I'm not there with, as a kid with my parents, my grandparents watching Baywatch on a Saturday at 3:00.
That's an awkward watch with your parents, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an
Sam,
awkward
what do you think?
watch.
Sit on my knee. No, thanks, Grandad.
One of the things you mentioned, Dan, was live sport. I think something very interesting has gone on with live sport. So I would argue, particularly in our sports group, we do, and you mentioned sport, we do watch live sport. Often we're all watching something simultaneously. However, something has radically changed. We're all watching live sport, except often one of us will be on Virgin, someone will be on Sky, somebody will be streaming it through a Sky Go app, right? Somebody will be probably watching a dodgy stream.
Yeah.
People will be watching. So technically, we're watching the same thing. And what's I'm starting to find increasingly frustrating is we'll be messaging about a game and somebody will be ahead, right? And then it'll take us a while for us all to work out what's going on. And so we're not even now, when there is something, a shared cultural event, we're not even watching it live together. And I find that almost more frustrating. And I find it increasingly frustrating. We could go to you, Shomit, but you've forgotten to raise
You
your
carry
hand.
on. You carry on.
You're getting yourselves into. Oh, he's got his hand up. He's physically gone for it. Who needs digital? I've got double hands. You're in. You're in.
Now that I've done it, I'm just going to go in. So my point is just that we're aware of it. So if you were watching live sport 20 years ago, someone might be on Meridian. Let's say it was ITV. Someone might be on Meridian. Someone might be on Carlton. Someone might be on whatever. I doubt all of those streams are happening at the same time. It's just the fact that we're literally texting each other as it happens in live that we've now become aware of it. So it's not actually that the streaming services have changed what's happening. It's just the fact that we are so much more on it and speaking to each other in live that we're aware of it. Carry on. Sorry.
Very little slight tuck in on this one as well. There can be a small upside to being behind if you're in California on a legal stream and it's a really boring game and you're then sort of accidentally, supposedly watching the game and just doom scrolling on your phone. and you get a text from your dad, get in, and you're like, oh, great, we're about to score. So it can be an upside.
That's
That
a
is a shit
hypothetical
way to watch
situation.
football.
Yeah,
Come
that is
on,
terrible.
man.
Does anyone have an issue with the feeling of missing out if they don't have access to live TV? So I've tried to get rid of Sky for a few times, right? And I've managed to say and get through the go on, please stay kind of curve. And I've gone and I've got all the access to streaming and all that I need. I've gone to Now TV. But there's just part of me that feels like I can't patch into the real world because I'm not getting anything live here and now. And the same thing with like radio. Like if I go all the way back, I can never be in a car listening to CDs. I always have to listen to the radio. So I feel like I'm like part of the world. Otherwise, I'm just like cocooned away in my own little bubble. Like I'm going to miss out that there's some crazy news happening. And I love having, and I spend money to have Sky so that I feel like I'm part of the world and I'm not just, I don't know, being fed through the algorithms that there are plentiful of the next binge series that I need to go and waste 12 hours of my life on the train against. But yeah, does anybody else feel like that they have to feel like connected in some way?
Not,
You
not
realise you can
even
do that with
slightly.
you could do that with BBC and ITV for free.
No, I totally, no, I know. It's just like, but I want to feel like I can just sit in the lounge and access it really easily. And it's part, like, I'm just used to like seeing BBC in a very traditional way. And I just love knowing that I can do that. It's weird.
There is definitely something nice about watching something whilst the rest of the nation watches, isn't there? And I see what you mean by the FOMO thing, but honestly, if I could be less connected, I would be. I think that's the goal now, really, isn't it? I want less information, less stuff streamed to my TV. I remember when we were kids, we did every Sunday night, one of the local families from the village would come round and we'd watch Blind Date or Harry Enfield and Chums or something like that. And it was cool because then you had something in common to talk about, you know? And I was thinking like, that's actually, we have lost that. And it's a bit of a shame because it was a kind of a national event sometimes. As told by that fact about, you know, when EastEnders used to finish, then that was the biggest surge in power demand across the UK because everybody put the kettle on at the same time. But it's a sort of, you know, maybe the National Grid are quite pleased that doesn't really happen anymore. But no, look, I think that's a great loss in a way. But there have been a few saving graces lately, haven't there? There's been like Bridgerton, for example. So Bridgerton is being released or has been released 4 episodes at a time. So it's not just bingeable in one night, which is great because you binge a whole series in a night, you get really bored of it by episode 3 or 4, don't you? So actually you want that kind of break. And the fact that four episodes get released, like in a couple of days' time, you're talking to your mates about it and you're all sort of talking about what's going to happen in the next 4 episodes. I think that's really valuable. We watched a show called The Undoing. Have you guys seen that? It's with Hugh Grant and Nicole Kidman. It was out a few years back.
Yeah, really good.
And really good, right? And for me, one of the reasons it was so great is because it was released 1 a week for 10 weeks. And I loved that. Ali hated it, but I thought it was just fantastic because it brought you back to the anticipation of the next episode, which I really liked. And you know, we had other mates watching it as well. And so it was a topic of conversation for 10 weeks rather than I binged 10 hours of telly last night when I should have been asleep. Yeah. So but there's a study by the New York University Stern School of Business that looked at what happens if you put adverts in the middle of a TV show. And I think that's sort of analogous in a way to what I'm talking about, where you've got, you know, episodes being released over time. So they people watched the sitcom Taxi, and they some had commercial breaks and some didn't, and the scores for the show were across the board higher for the people who watched the commercials within the show, which is weird, isn't it? Because you bloody hate adverts, but what it does is it stops a thing called hedonic adaptation, which is when you just get bored of it. You've got so much pleasure that it becomes really boring, right? So that's why you don't want to watch 10 episodes in one go. You're much better off stretching them out. And so, you know, I think for that reason as well, we do sort of miss
Were
that.
they binging it Like the
Yeah.
Taxi show, were they binge watching Taxi?
Well, no, they did it on a per episode basis.
Oh,
So,
I'm surprised.
and then it was scored after each episode. But it's
Right.
cool, right? That's really interesting
Yeah,
because you'd think just immediately banish the idea of putting anything in the way of just watching everything you've got in one go. But I think that sort of proves that it was better back then, although obviously choice is amazing now and convenience there's value in that too. But they're definitely, we have moved on, haven't we? But to the question, Bridgerton, Traitors, for example, we've even got a WhatsApp group about Traitors. There are national events as long as the TV is good enough.
Can I just ask on the Taxi thing? Did a marketing company pay for that research?
Good question. Yeah, I don't know. And that's a good question. So it was so it's Nelson L. and Mavis in 2009. Research discussed in the Journal of Consumer Research, later summarized in Harvard Business Review. Commercials make us like TV more was the title of the paper. So yeah, maybe that's a really good question, Sean. We should definitely look into that.
Paid for by the Institute of Practitioners in Advertising, I would imagine.
Yeah,
Deaders, you very kindly had your hand up. And
Yeah,
didn't
and it
interrupt anyone.
segues nicely from what Hunty was saying. Like, I think the premise of the question is on point from when Netflix first landed and they broke the sort of paradigm, and everything was just, whole seasons were dropped in one big bingeable chunk, which is completely different to what we're used to from a one, week by week. But the other streaming services have pushed back on that. And I think as Netflix has become a smaller slice of the pie, I made the same point about Traitors, Game of Thrones, Last of Us, Stranger Things. Like Stranger Things, this last Christmas, last season, they had the main block and then another little block and a few little blocks around Christmas. So they're really, I feel like the shows have really fed into that. And with sort of tying into what we're saying about sport and everyone texting each other about this shit now, is that you get the sort of spoiler effect if you don't want to be left behind. So you get the societal pressure to keep up. I was very aware of this all the way back to Game of Thrones when folks were really into Game of Thrones, and every week it would be more chat about it. And if folks were watching Last of Us, and what was that show that you sort of loved and hated, Duts? The one where nothing happened until the last 5 minutes of every episode. Lost in the zombie show.
Lost can fuck right off. That was a complete waste of
Walking
5 years
Dead.
of my life. We're not going into that.
Yeah, those ones where like I avoided them because it sounded like I didn't want to invest if it got shit at the end, and I regretted my decision. But everyone who was in it was like every week there'd be a big great big swarm of chat afterwards. So I'm not sure that it's gone away. Where I think it's really gone away is what Dan was talking about. It's radio, like music. Like it used to be that we had in the US, it was the old grey whistle test. Obviously in the UK, it was Top of the Pops. So there used to be and a few radio stations that you would just sit and listen to. So everyone got más o menos like the similar experience of music and exposure to new music. And now it feels like for our generation, and I think one of the things here between music and TV is like folks kind of stop discovering new music when they get to their 30s generally, and in the way that they don't with TV. So that's a factor. And I'm aware that some kids are still on top of everything that comes out. But certainly for us, like it feels like everyone used to know, new bands, new folks coming through. And now I think that's gone away completely because you haven't got these staged releases in the same way. Big albums like a Taylor Swift album or whatever, sure. But for everything else, folks are off in their own little zones. And who knows?
When was the last time you listened to the charts on the radio? You just doesn't happen anymore, does it?
Sam? Yeah, absolutely. Because you'll think, we always listen to it on a Sunday, didn't we? All right. Sometimes you might deliberately go out of your way to engineer a long car journey because that would be a great time to just sit and listen to the charts all the way through.
Top of the Pops on a Friday.
Top of the Pops on a Friday, charts on a Sunday. Yeah, I remember, not that long ago, Lindsay and I sort of going round the block because there were like 3 or 4 songs left to go, and we wanted to know who was going to be number one. Like continue the drive to find out. I think one of the stats. I think you pulled this one up, John. among 16 to 24-year-olds, less than half of viewing time is live broadcast TV. Most is on demand or streaming. I was amazed at that, less than half. I think it's a lot less than that. But you did mention one show, and you're right, we've talked about this lots. In our group, we talk about it lots. The fact that we created a group for traitors, I think, which has persisted over, 3 seasons of it now, and a couple of and the celebrity one as well. That is something that we watch as a family. And I think it's the only thing that we all watch as a family, and we anticipate. But I think they've got the balance really well done there. It's not on all year. There's a sort of waiting towards the end of the week and the weekend. So, and that periodic release of it, where you've got the start of the week, you don't have to worry about traitors, but you can still chat about it and think about it as it comes up. So I think you mentioned it as well, Dennis, that I think they seem to have moved away from this dump everything out there and hope for it, because they've realized that people actually do want those shared cultural moments, and they have the ability to facilitate that. I think one of the streaming platforms that's got this right, and obviously I wax lyrical about them constantly, is Apple TV Plus, right? They've never seemed to really have done that. They usually seem to drip things out on a week by week basis for almost everything they release, and I think it works for me. That works perfectly, and I think it takes away some of that pressure to maybe have to catch up really quickly, because if you've got a week, you can probably catch up with an episode a week if you're a busy human being. If they dump a whole series out, the pressure then to binge watch it, I think, becomes a bit unsustainable. And I just won't watch those shows. I'll wait until everyone stops talking about them, and then I'll watch them later. And I feel like you're kind of missing out a bit there on the zeitgeist. Dutz, what do you think?
So yes and no. So Traitors was going to be my example, right? So Traitors is on every week, but we've reached the point where let's say 20 years ago, we'd make sure we were in to watch that episode, because if we did not watch that episode, that was it. We won't see that again for a year, or whenever they rerun the entire show. Whereas it is still on demand. So you miss the Traitors. As of 1 minute past the show starting, you can watch that for forever until they take it off the platform. Which means, so all of the thing you were talking about the WhatsApp groups, that's quite interesting, because we have the WhatsApp group, and on the night that the show is on, a bunch of us will want to talk about it as the Traitors is happening, but someone might be like, "Oh yeah, guys, I'm watching it tomorrow," and then it's like, "Well, that's that done." Like we can't talk about it in live, and I'd love to talk about it in live, because it, the Traitors is brilliant.
Set up another group. What's that?
So brilliant.
Traitors Live.
So every single week you set up another group for the individual or the two people that aren't gonna, and it becomes completely pointless, because then
put it on mute, and you're only in Traitors Live if you're on it that day.
Okay, fine. But I mean, my point is that it still isn't that national event. It still isn't, because some people will be like, "Well, I'm not going to watch it tonight because I'm going to go out for dinner. I'm not going to change my dinner plans," which we might have done 20 years ago or 10 years ago to watch something. You won't do that now. You'll just be like, "Oh yeah, I'm out." Or you won't even think about it. You're like, "Oh, I planned this thing. It's fine. I'll watch that tomorrow morning. I might watch it tonight when I get home from the pub, whatever." So you're all off kilter. Whereas back in the day, when there was something that everyone was watching, everyone would watch it, and it would be that water cooler moment where you're all going to work the next day and you're all chatting about it, and everyone's really excited about that thing. I remember. Do you remember when the National Lottery started when we were kids?
Bloody hell,
Yeah.
yeah.
Everyone
We used to watch that.
We used to watch the National Lottery, and it's like,
so boring.
why did we watch it? Who knows? But everyone watched the National Lottery and Mystic Meg and all of this stuff that ultimately is really boring shit. But we all watched it and we all knew about it, and we can all chat about it the next day. Yeah, that's the end of my rant. Sorry.
Yeah, good rant. Dan, let's go to you.
Yeah, thanks. I well, first of all, have to admit I've never watched The Traitors.
Ooh,
What?
what?
Boo
it's
you.
not. It's. I don't know if anyone in the family watches it, but
We kicked someone off the podcast. Have we done that
yeah.
before?
yeah, go for it.
There's a button. Actually, isn't
Go
there?
for it. But you had me thinking. Around to try and synchronize watching. Wouldn't it be really cool if you could have settings on streaming platforms that you almost had like a community, right? So you added your community group.
You can watch parties. You can do that.
Can you do watch parties? So that it
Or has
forces you
Schmidt
not to
made
be able
this
to. Is that true? I don't know. So you can. So I'm thinking like, so we all want to watch something, but we lock it in, and it doesn't allow you to
Oh,
go
no.
to the next show.
Okay,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, that's not what watch party is. Sorry,
Okay.
I should have let you
Shall I-
finish before I jumped
Shall
in. Sorry.
I finish? Okay.
Yeah, this is a problem that I have, Dan. Carry on.
So we all want the choice, but as a community, we're like, right, let's slow this down. They may have released 10 of them, but we're going to program this only going to be available on a Tuesday at 8:00, and we're all going to watch it together, and we do all of that kind of thing. Or maybe more casually, just have the opportunity to tag it. So you say, don't binge this, only release it once a week, and then you get to choose when to watch it. So it gives you that pace rather than you kind of losing love with the show. And I think, John, you said, or Shomit, you said this, which is like, there is a risk that all of that investment that the platform has given you in this great show, you actually lose that value because you've bypassed it so quickly. You haven't allowed yourself to understand the story in the right way. So I think to tell the story over 10 weeks, you might have a much better experience than trying to watch it on a wet Sunday afternoon and power through it. I think that could be quite a nice way of trying to bridge the gap between this huge amount of choice that we want on our terms and also create, I don't know, synchronized community watching.
I wonder though, with that, Dan, you could actually imagine you're watching, you can see something's coming up. You could maybe say, delay it to this time and day and send that note to your mates, and it delays it for all of you and it won't release it.
Do you realize how, like Sam, how hard is it to arrange anything between a bunch of friends? How difficult is it?
But it would be so simple. It wouldn't even require it'd just be like, you just get a message on Netflix. You get a message on Netflix that says, you've been tagged on a show. Do you agree to watch this do you agree to slow this down, watch it every Tuesday? Yes.
Yeah,
Job done.
You've been tagged by Dan. He's going to watch this at this time. Do you want to watch it at the same time? That'd be cool.
Are you aware of life?
Yeah.
This is essentially just a WhatsApp group where you and the other people just go, right, lads, Tuesday, next episode, cool.
No, but it could work. But it could work even anyway. We could argue the toss. I just think there is definitely an opportunity where you could have a toggled function that slowed the content down, and that might be quite cool.
I think you're right. I'm with you, Dan. I think there's a mechanism beyond WhatsApp where you can it gets held back because you've all mutually agreed, and then it only comes up at that certain time. All starts at the same time. I think that's spot on. Dennis, do you want to wrap this up before we move on?
Yeah, maybe this is a wrapper where, like, about this whole topic. The premise is this is maybe a bad thing, that we don't have these shared cultural moments, and I think the sort of nuance is we sort of still do, not quite in the same way, more distributed, blah blah blah. That's touched on something sort of tangentially there about, like, back in the day we might not go out for dinner because we're staying in for the top of the pops or whatever it might be, whereas now you just go out and catch it later. I mean, maybe there's a case to be made that, like, not having such fealty to TV and having TV fit around life rather than life fit around TV is maybe a good thing. I presume we're watching more TV now than we did before, but I don't know if that's true. We've got more choice. I don't know if we're watching more. We're just watching higher quality and what we want versus lower quality, whatever's on. But if viewership numbers haven't changed and the lack of having to see it when it's on means that we can watch better TV fit around our lives, that's probably a good thing overall, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. What do you think, John?
Yeah, it's got to be a good thing, isn't it? It's got. Let's lobby for some changes to Netflix. Right, shall we move on to our next question?
Think so.
Let's move on. Sorry, I should have wrapped up with a really concrete, punchy ending. I tend to try and end in a question, so it doesn't seem like I'm prescribing anything.
If you read the message channel, you should have done that. It was nice and clear. Don't worry about that.
All right, team. Let's go to the next one. And it's a hot topic at the moment in the UK, because our government is proposing to ban social media access for under 16-year-olds, which I personally think is a bloody good idea. It's already happened in Australia. So here is the question. For most of our childhood, social life happened face-to-face: schools, parks, sports clubs, phone calls. Today, much of social life for teenagers happens online. Platforms shape identity, friendships, self-image, and attention from a very early age. So the question is no longer whether social media affects young people, because it clearly does, but whether the age of access should be pushed back. Are we protecting kids or overreacting to a technology we don't fully understand? Are the government right? What do you think? Let's go to you first, Sam.
I think I don't agree with lots of things the government does. This is one of the few things I think they're just behind the curve on. Right, this has been obvious for a long time that they should get on with it, and they should get on with it very quickly. You mentioned Australia; it's already happened. I see almost no downside to this. So, and I think if you look at the sort of bleating that's come out from the social media platforms and the Australian teenagers, I think it's sort of shown conclusively there's very few sensible arguments at all for why they need this. You're even starting to see. I'd give you some interesting anecdotes. Obviously, I've got one boy at secondary school, and I've got another who will be starting in September. What I thought was really interesting was that they just changed the mobile phone policy at my older son's school, which is if you're in the first 2 years now, you're not allowed a smartphone at school, right? It's got to be a dumb phone. And I hadn't really read the policy, and Lindsay said, "Have you actually read this in detail?" I was like, "No." And so, and I think that's a brilliant thing. I certainly know with my brother and his kids, he works for Movember and has been very involved in sort of mental health challenges for men. This is something they've been incredibly interested in. I know at his school, parents are signing pledges to ensure that it's not just about smartphones as well. It's about the technology that's on them and what they've got access to. So yeah, I am 100% fully behind it. That it was absolutely fine to be able to have basic messaging. There was no danger of that. I can only see, we're all the same, right? I've sat there and you've sat there and doom scrolled at night. I don't need it. There's incredible toxicity in messaging groups, let alone amongst kids, enough in adult stuff. Okay. I think we should be putting this back, punting it into the long grass, and teaching kids in this intervening period much better information about what's out there, what are the challenges with it, and how to help them tackle it, rather than giving them a smartphone at 10 or 11 and the combination of both a smartphone and no controls whatsoever on social media and saying, good luck and see how you get on. But I can only see it as incredibly damaging. But that's my view. What does Shomit Dutta think?
I agree. So there's so many issues with this whole thing, right? So I think 18 is probably the right time that people should be on social media. I think we limped into it at the age of, I don't know, 18, 19, 20, and then it carried on kind of rolling from that point. And I think we're probably the best generation for
Full stop.
understanding.
Best generation.
Last of the line.
The best
Last
generation,
generation.
full stop, right?
Last of the line. We
generation.
need like a hand signal, don't we? I don't know how we could do that. My hand doesn't work, so it doesn't.
Of line. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We'll work on that.
We'll work on that.
To like fully understand what it means to come into it. I like working in marketing and working with these platforms like day in, day out. The problem is the platforms. Like you can, with the best will in the world, you can say, right, okay. So if you look at age gating now, okay, so we, as an advertiser who works in something over 18, which I do, everything's supposed to be age gated. Though no one under the age of 21 is supposed to see anything I'm advertising, and that's absolute bollocks. Of course they are. Of course they're seeing it, because none of those platforms are age gated properly. There's no what we need, and this is a proper rant on my job and what I think it should happen, is anyone who's on social media needs to, and there is like this big brother thing that people might argue about, needs to verify ID to be on social media of any sort, so therefore people can be tracked. There can be none of this kind of horrible, like what's the word, like bullying, trolling online, because everyone knows exactly who you are. You can't hide. And that's exactly what we need to do. So if you're on a social media platform, you need to A, not be allowed on it until you're 18. B, you need to provide ID to be on that social media platform. So everyone, like, not everyone knows who you are, but ultimately, if you do something wrong, you can be found. Right now, all of the rules are way too loose. They are way too loose. And the one thing I want to say about this whole 16-year-old law is, how is that being measured? Like, so right now, so Australia have done it, Portugal are about to do it, Spain are, Indonesia, some parts of India. There's a whole bunch more doing it. But actually, how is that going to be measured? Like, what do we understand off the back of that? So yes, we've done it. 16-year-olds can't get on social media, but actually, can't they? Because they're pretty savvy now. You pop that into ChatGPT, I'm sure you can find a way around it. So that it's a lot more complex than it seems. And I completely agree with you. I'd much rather people weren't on social media till they're 18, but we need to police it properly, and the platforms need to take full responsibility for it.
Very quickly, Dance. One thing, I don't know if anyone else saw this. Did you see what TikTok have done in the last, I think it's in the last week or so. I don't know if any. So
we're all too old, mate. No one knows.
I know. But I've read this in a real newspaper. So that's luckily where I found it, rather than in a 6-second video of somebody jumping up and down and shaking things. I understand TikTok are not encrypting their messaging system deliberately as a market positioning strategy, to say, we think it's really important that both we and the authorities can read messages on the platform so that we can help enforce things.
I mean, that's a horrible double-edged sword, isn't it? So
that
we
was
and the
fascinating.
authorities plus anyone else in the entire
you might
world.
call that a skittish sort of strategy.
It could be construed as skittish.
It's very Chinese, isn't it? That is to allow so much surveillance.
But I thought that was quite intriguing in the context of this conversation. Going, actually, would that be helpful to be able to pick up, okay, there's an issue here. So is it better to just ban it outright, or is it better to have constraints within it? And yeah, I've not heard anyone else talking about it. I'd probably need to go and source that properly. But yeah, no, I sat and listened and read something. I was like, okay, that's felt unusual, where you think that the big US platforms have obviously gone the other way, and we're fully end-to-end encrypted, and there's no one can read anything. So
I personally haven't seen that, but it's not good. It's not good. You, like, no matter how you sell it, for anyone to be able to like hack your data is not good. Like saying, oh, if we want the authorities to look at it, to be honest, even if it is encrypted, I'm sure they could figure out a way. But like, for anyone to be able to hack it and access it, that's not great. That is not great.
True. Dan, you're dressed like a teenage child. Do you want to have a view on this?
No, I'm all right, thanks.
You all right?
No view.
Nothing. I don't want my parents to take away my social platform access. Very good. That was very good. For all those watching, feeling a bit under the weather, drinking non-alcoholic beer, put my happy hat on, which gives me a little bit of smiley face, and so that's why I'm dressed like a 19-year-old. Okay.
A 19-year-old Teddy Ruxpin?
Yeah. I'm on the fence with this one. I really am. Maybe I'm actually more on the let's not get rid of it and restrict it to under 16s. But I'm on the fence. Hear me out. So I think the horse is bolted, in the sense that because it has existed for so long and is so powerful, that anything that is done to remove it is going to provide the revolt. And I think how people then have to change their behavior to be without it will actually fuel a greater need to go after it in an unsafe way. And that could open up a whole heap of shit that we don't even know. And so with kids, I don't know, like, would the trust and honesty of not legally be able to access this content start to become a bigger issue than it was when they were accessing it in the first place. Don't know, that kind of scares me a little bit. I've read some stuff in Australia, stuff around teens just using or bribing their parents with like, I'll do really well in my grades, but please make sure that you do my age restriction on the app so I can get access to things. And that's one bad version of it, but I think there could be some really bad things out there, like just dark web based access protocols that people are paying for to get access to stuff. So I think that could be an unknown. I think the second thing is, I think a lot of people get a lot of good stuff from social platforms. So maybe you're quite insular, maybe you don't want to go out and have a huge physical community, but maybe, positive intent, you've got a great social platform and community that you engage with, and that really feeds that need. And I think there's a lot of people that could potentially benefit from that. And we know a lot of the bad stuff, and we all like to talk about the bad news, but there's also a lot of great stuff that comes from social platforms. So I think the horse is bolted to stop it. However, I think there's there's a huge piece of work to be done that can help manage it in a better way. And it's fucking broken today, and I admit that from a parental point of view. And there's much more we can do, but I don't think stopping it is the answer. I think education is key, and I think how schools could positively integrate social into their community from day one could be the start of something really positive, because I don't think it's ever going to go away, even if we pretend to think that we've restricted access.
You're making quite a compelling point there, Dan. Weirdly, I actually came into this thinking it's so obvious as to be untrue. You absolutely have to get rid of it. But actually there are elements of it, aren't there, which are really good. Like, and this is what no one's ever explained this to me when I've listened to politicians talking about it on the radio. They can't tell you really whether WhatsApp is included in social media, right?
I was going to ask
or whether, or like one of my kids has Snapchat. We let him have Snapchat because we thought it was a messaging app. It's got the bloody doom scrolling reels in it, the YouTube short type things. And so we were surprised by that. Yeah, well, I mean, can you imagine? I haven't used Snapchat ever, right? So we just thought it was there was this sort of bullying aspect of disappearing messages in Snapchat. But yeah, like you say, that's probably 10 years ago news. So maybe the answer is not to ban it all, but to get these tech platforms to change these platforms so that it is nicer. You don't maybe you don't get fed millionaires driving Ferraris and living it up in Monaco, but maybe you get a bit like I think the Chinese have done this with TikTok in China. They get fed kids being really good at maths, for example. They don't get fed the toxic stuff that we do. There's no manosphere in China because it's just not allowed. I don't necessarily agree with the sort of, controlling of the algorithm in that sense, but there might be a way to just delete all the shit bits of all these apps. Like I just filled in the government consultation on it, a couple of days ago. And they seem to have completely missed the point from my point of view. They were looking at, they're worried about cyberbullying and all that sort of stuff. And I've actually got a stat on that. That 7 out of 10 kids will experience cyberbullying at some point. That is wild, isn't it? But I mean, for me,
sorry,
I don't think that's the biggest problem with it for me, because I talk to my kids about it quite often, about the messages they're getting and sending and making sure they're being kind and making sure people are being kind to them and that they're not talking to people that they don't know. And I hope that will sort of, deal with that side of things. I like to think my kids are nice kids. But the biggest problem for me, and something that the government consultation didn't seem to understand at all, was this dopamine loop infinite scrolling problem, which is robbing them of their attention spans and robbing me of my attention span too, by the way. I'm not saying that, the bloody kids. I'm saying these apps are very dangerous for focus and attention span. And that is what I would focus on. Let's take those bits out. And if you can leave a messaging app, great. And if you can maybe have an AI overlay that spots if a kid stupidly sends a nude photo or something like that and stops it before it gets sent, great. These things can happen. I don't like the idea of removing end-to-end encryption. I think we should keep our
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
yeah,
I hear the word like
privacy.
moderation in this. And I
Yeah.
think, and again, like there's loads of negative examples around of course, doom scrolling and removing yourself from the physical world and just ending up blowing 6 hours of your life looking at funny videos. But in the contrary, there are people that learn a lot from like a lot of the educational side of things, and they'll be picking up loads of information that's actually really useful. They'll be learning how to code. They'll be learning about the world. They'll be learning about news in a different way. There's loads of upside, but I do think that how can we create tools that allow us to understand how we can best moderate this for our own children, but also how do we create the tools so that it helps teach the user what they're seeing and how they're using it, right? There shouldn't have to be a parental control for me to see that my daughter's seen 3 hours of content. She should be reminded that when she closes off, it's like, you've just lost 3 hours of your life doom scrolling. How do you feel? Like, wouldn't it be great if
Yeah.
it always did that? Like, it's like
Yeah, and
suddenly,
also maybe at the end it would also say, and by the way, most things you've seen are bollocks.
totally, exactly. Like, and 96% of content you've seen was AI generated. How do you feel now? Stupid. I won't do that again. But yeah,
Yeah.
I am on the fence with it, but I think it's more about having better tools to understand what they're seeing and how they're seeing it and the volume of it, and let them know what that is. So yeah, I've said enough. Shomit.
So two things. One as someone who's been at the sharp end of government consultations continually for the last like 7 years of my life, they don't know what they're doing. They literally they don't have the right experts in play to actually be able to say, you know, these are the actual problems and these are how we actually solve it. They get a bunch of people who don't really understand what's going on. They don't do enough deep diving. They don't get tech experts in. They just they fundamentally don't know what they're doing. So when things like this come out, it's not researched properly, and I will die on that hill because I've seen it happen time and time again. So
Yeah, mate,
no,
I think you're entirely right. Like, having filled in that government consultation, I think they completely missed a major problem with social media, and they focused on all the like headline stuff like cyberbullying, uh, and they forgot about what the small effect it's having on all the kids, not the massive effect it's having on a few kids.
yeah, and that 7 out of 10 cyberbullying stat, I'm not saying it's untrue, but I'd love to see where they got those stats from. But my second point is that it's and I've said this previously, it's platform related. You need to bully the platforms into doing the right thing, and right now we have no power over the platforms, absolutely none. And again, working in my industry, we have tried to bully them to do so much stuff, and it takes years and years and years to get them to put the right things in place. And what the government should be doing is, rather than saying, right, okay, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, let's actually think about what would work. So, for instance, the point I made earlier about making people having to physically sign up with ID, so you know which each individual is, to get a platform to do that will take like 5 years, and actually they'll kick back because they're all American companies and they don't give a shit. Globally, they don't give a shit. So it's really difficult to get them to do it. But that's what we should be doing. We should be pressurizing the platforms.
You
I
do
think-
that, Dots.
I think it's
Sam, what do you think?
Well, I think one of the things we've touched on in this is sort of where does social media, sort of start and end, right? We talked about, you thought Snapchat was a messaging app, John. Turns out it's got infinite scroll. One of the things we've all talked about as a group recently is how sort of from nowhere, Spotify has gone as from this kind of safe place where kids were listening to music to the devil, far worse than YouTube. The content that if you when you move your kids, when you start to transition them from the Spotify Kids app into the main Spotify app, there's very few parental controls. There's very little you can do. Even if you're paying, you're paying for that account yourself and you're adding kids onto it. There's very little on there that, to give credit to some of the other platforms, they've really worked at and developed. There's almost nothing like that on Spotify. And I think I can't remember if we told the story here before, but we were on a long drive And my youngest son, Jake, started coming up with all kinds of nonsense. We said, "Oh, where did you hear that?" And he said, "Oh, on the Joe Rogan podcast." And, Lindsay and I looked at each other.
What a
like,
legend.
Where did you hear, what? And he was like, yeah, I listened to him on Spotify. We're like, he's 11. We're like, how, what? Stop. And we had to then, I can't remember, we talked about this. We then had to listen to an entire Joe Rogan podcast in the car, pausing it repeatedly to talk about, in fairness, less Joe Rogan, actually more of his guests, to say, okay, well, let's talk about what this person just said. Is that true or not? Is that nonsense? Are they just making it up? We had to have almost a whole sort of discussion around disinformation in a long car journey, which I didn't particularly want to have. It was, it was late. I was tired. Certainly didn't want that. But I think where does social media begin and end? Because I think a lot of people think it's just Facebook, right? Or how busy is Facebook now? Actually, is it Instagram? Is it WhatsApp? How many people really know that you can just post a photo on WhatsApp as a status update, right? And that goes to every single person in your phone, right? Most of us don't use that functionality, but I know that my eldest son's generation do. They use it constantly. So they don't have Instagram and they don't have Facebook, and a lot of them don't have TikTok, but they're still posting in the same way, even on WhatsApp, because they've added that functionality that, frankly, I don't think they ever needed. So, Dutz, I think you're spot on putting pressure on the platforms. I agree with you, John, as well. There's probably a bigger debate to be had to almost understand some of these different mechanics that they're using and going, do we want these necessarily? And do they necessarily need to be involved? And how do you put the pressure on? The thing that gives me some hope is what's been done with online porn. Okay. That has worked. Okay. I haven't got the stats to hand, but it's very obvious that access to online porn sites has plummeted. Obviously, people are finding different ways to get around them, but broadly that appears to have worked in the UK at the very least. And it gives me some optimism that there are much better ways. Maybe it's not just a draconian ban everything, but where is a group of people in government, supported probably by some really sensible think tanks, very quickly going, this has been around a while. We all kind of know what the answers are here. Let's just get on with it, right? And maybe this is one of the few instances where we're better to just start banning some stuff. I'm not saying do everything in a kind of Trump style knee-jerk reaction to everything, but this might be one of the few times where we go, yeah, let's just do it straight away. Right. And then we'll work out the repercussions of it afterwards. Yes, we can have consultation after consultation after consultation. I think broadly most people are agreed that this is terrible. Let's get it in place and then let's work out the repercussions of it afterwards. Because what we've done instead is we just said, yeah, let's have a complete free fall and see how that worked. It hasn't quite worked. I don't see any reason why we can't go back the other way very quickly and just say, no, we're just going to have a stop now. And now let's have a discussion after we've done it. So,
Yeah.
Dennis, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, 100% agree with you there, mate. Like, this aligns to my sort of general point that I've raised in a few of these. It's like, essentially, potted history is Silicon Valley tech companies have done this move fast to break things, develop products, test them live on society, Sing Auto, Waymo, Scoot, whatever. No oversight, doesn't matter. US has been captured by billionaires with the Citizens United thing. Maybe years down the line they get a slap on the wrist. Give a shit. But then even that comes after like extensive hand wringing over like public discourse about government overreach. Don't tread on me, whatever. Let the free market decide. All of that is pushed by billionaires and media companies pushing back against having any control on them at all. And I'm increasingly the other way. Companies are evil. They prey on people for profit. People are stupid and vote to be preyed on. And we need the government to save people for themselves. See also smoking. Dutz, there was a bit of irony there where Sam said about like government control against the dangers of addiction. And you finished smoking a vape pen and went, yeah, I fully agree. Yeah, smoking, alcoholism, gambling, like social media, we know it's a nightmare. We know it was created and then deliberately profitized to be as dopamine addicted as possible by scumbags to make loads of money for a few people. Fuck them, eat the rich. European governments have power. Like over here in America, nothing's ever going to change, right? The country is lost to billionaires. But that ain't true in the UK and Germany and European companies. Fucking ban a lot of it and then wait for those companies to go, actually, we're missing out on a 70, 80 million person market here. We actually will make a UK-centric product where we put in the filters that they've asked for. We put in the controls they've asked for. It's not actually that hard. especially with the AI, we can code this in a fucking day. So easy peasy. Now we bend to their rules. And like you said with Sam, with the porn thing, it does work. Like, I think there's this big propaganda and edge case fear that it's going to be terrible for everyone, or everyone's going to get around it. Some people will get around it. Some people get a VPN and whatever, and they'll use Tor and whatever. Fine. But most people, they'll go, right, the bans come in. I don't know enough about technology. I'm just banned. And that'll be that. And we were talking about the last conversation was we grew up in a world where we had 4 channels of government controlled content. And that was fine for everyone. And now we're saying, well, we can't go back to that world. We've got to have a complete free for all of everything that is sort of doom scroll algoed at you. That's like inevitably influencing your mind and how you think and how you see the world. And John, you raised a great point about how that algo is different in China to US as it will be here. As it will be there in the UK. But all of these things are different ways to influence your mindset, how you think about the world. That's controlled from external forces outside of your control. That's fucking terrible all around. I mean, it's still bad when it's government control, but at least when it's the BBC, there's some element of like, we've all agreed this would be nice for everyone. I think I probably trust that more than I trust profiteering scumbags. Gents?
Yeah, amen. Yeah, good. I mean, good rant. Difficult to argue against any of that, isn't it? I just wanted to touch on the VPN point because I heard a guy. I can't remember his name. He was from the Labour government, and he was on LBC radio the other day, and he was talking about this social media ban, and the radio presenter sort of, quite pompously said, "Oh, well, the kids will just get a VPN," and he very quickly came back and said, "All right, age limits on VPNs." And I thought, oh, that's really clever. Why didn't I think of that before?
Also, it's quite. Sorry, I was just going to say it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult for a child to get a VPN. Like you have to pay for a VPN. You can't
not necessarily, right? Because like the Opera GX browser has a VPN free within it, for example. But you could legislate against it, right? You could say anyone signing up for a VPN. You could say anyone signing up for a VPN has to be 18 or whatever, right? And then it's sort of our choice whether we allow VPN. I don't have a VPN. How does it? Is it a password? Is it a username? So you wouldn't get to get on a VPN.
To get on a VPN, So the ones that I've ever used, you pay for and you log into it like you would do.
You have an account, right? So you could choose just not to give that account to your kids, right? Seems fine.
Though.
Yeah. Well, ban free ones then.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is that all of this seems entirely possible with enough tech savviness within the government. They just have to ask the right questions to the right people. And like you said at the start of this, Sam, I don't agree with a lot of things. Most things that this government have done, I think they've been absolutely awful, start to finish. But this is quite a good thing, isn't it? Well done, them.
Yeah.
So, as we have all turned into the merry White House experience, I think it's probably good for us to move on to our next section. Everyone comfortable? Everyone good? No final points? So, it's car time. And I think we're all a bit excited. So, this week, we've got a new scenario. You've landed your dream job. You're technically the T-boy at a motoring magazine, but we all know what this really means. You're hoping to become a proper motoring journalist. And this is the career imagined when you were 14, reading road tests and memorizing power figures. But there's a problem. You don't have a car yet. Your first day's tomorrow, and the entire editorial team will be there. Experienced writers, photographers, people who've driven everything from Ferraris to battered press cars with 200,000 miles on them. They won't say anything when you arrive, but they'll absolutely notice what you turned up in. But you've only got £5,000 saved. That's it. This car's got to get you to work, but it also has to quietly signal that you understand cars. So you've got £5,000 to spend. What car do you arrive in on your first day? And what does it say about you? And as a follow-up twist, if an editor throws you the keys and said, right, then let's go for a drive, does that choice suddenly look very clever or very risky? Now, as always,
hand down,
Dutz, if you want to say something while I faff around with the technology, I'm more than welcome to.
I didn't really understand the second question. So the bit about having some keys thrown to you, does your car seem like a good choice or a bad choice?
Did you
I didn't
choose a
get
car with
that.
no wheels?
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's a single seater, it's not ideal. No, the question really is about, what happens if he says, right, let's go for a drive, and actually just doesn't start and it falls over?
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
a
right.
car
Okay,
on
so-
2D cutout.
So I read it as if he threw you his keys. And I was like,
Oh,
what's that
right,
got to
okay.
do with anything? Yeah,
Oh,
okay,
duh.
fine. Okay, I'm there.
No,
That's,
it's a day.
That's one of those
It's a day
parties
out.
that you go to, Shomit, where the
Yeah.
I was going to say that's a more of a sort of tooting Ballum thing, I think, mate. So right
Different guess.
London.
To
you
the
could
slide
say.
deck.
to the slide deck, and we're going to go straight in. I believe we're going to go straight to Jonathan Hunt's choice.
Boom.
Hey, go on then, get it up on the screen. Look at this little puppy.
Yes,
I
mate.
love it. It's so good.
Beauty.
Look, when Sam and I were talking about this question on a ski lift, on a chairlift in Cushville, la di da, and we both looked at each other and went, "It's a mini, isn't it?" And in this case, it is. I came across loads of really cool things. There was a Mondeo ST220 that I quite fancied, but I thought it was a little, perhaps a little bit middle aged. But then I came across this guy on Piston Heads. I think it was $4,000. This guy has put, look at the image in the bottom left, bottom right. He has put red bits on his engine. Yes, red bits. Roll cage in the back, TRS harnesses, bucket seats. This guy reckons he's made a track weapon that's road legal. But look, I don't care about all the little bits really. But the question is, what does it say about you? I think it says, yeah, I'm up for a bit of fun. I don't mind about what happens to my car. It's there to provide fun and nothing else. So this Mini, I think, would be really fun, although still it'd probably do 0 to 60 in about 8 seconds. So you can't really call it a track weapon. There'd be way faster cars out there. But it does say some good things, doesn't it? What do you guys think of it?
Brilliant choice.
I'm surprised that's $5,000. I think that's an amazing value.
Yeah.
It's $4,000, mate. It's leaving me $1,000 to get some track day insurance and a tow truck on the way home.
Is it a Cooper? Just a Cooper.
It's a Cooper S, yeah.
It's a Cooper S.
So it's an S. Yeah, good man.
Yeah, but
That's
I mean, look at it. It's knackered.
It's going to whine like a run over badger. But it's going to go really well. It's great, man. It's very John Hunt, I will say.
Yeah,
there you go. It's white too, which, as we know, is the fastest color. Yeah.
Is it white or is it like cream? Is it old ladies cream with a couple of go faster stripes? No, seriously,
you're not going to be able to tell when I'm round the hairpin in front of you, just creating distance.
I think it's great, mate. I think it's really great.
Wow. Great choice.
I am
there
surprised.
You go. And on the second question, Minis are pretty bomb-proof, although this generation did have a bit of a problem with the engine. But I reckon this guy probably did his own servicing. He's probably looked after it really well. He probably knows exactly what he's doing under the hood there. So I reckon it's not a mistake. I can take the editor of Evo magazine out in this, and we'd have a fun time. And we'd return for an afternoon of tea making in the offices.
Listen, if you get the editor in it and it works fine and nothing breaks on the engine, which it will soon, then you're golden. You only need to impress him for that drive. The engine will definitely give out on that, as it has on all of my Minis. But until then, it's the best car in the world.
How long,
Exactly.
Dennis? How long do you want to talk about your Minis for? Another 10 minutes?
No,
let's move on.
I didn't choose
right.
the Mini this time. I was very tempted.
Oh God, I think we're all worried about what Sam's going to choose. If we're totally honest,
There's going to be another Skoda estate going.
How bad could it be?
So, on this car, a few things I noticed.
Here we go.
So, one, my nervousness would start to come from the seatbelts, and I would be if I was a road test editor.
You're the
getting into
editor in
car,
this
first thing,
scenario, evidently.
I'm looking at those seatbelts.
He's already promoted himself.
Yeah, clearly.
I'm looking at those seatbelts and going, interesting choice. Many brands of seatbelts I can buy. Let me buy some ones I've never heard of. So
Oh no,
that
TRS are good harnesses. Wash
Yeah.
your
They're
mouth
in
out,
cater-
Sam.
They're in Caterhams and they're in Lotuses.
Yeah. I had
They're
I had
okay.
TRS red TRS harnesses in my Lotus. These
They're
are good.
okay,
These are
aren't they?
pucker kits.
Watch the backtrack.
Your
I'm
editor
not
position is
backtracking.
impressive.
They're okay. They're not great, are they? I'm worried. I was looking at the hoses. I was like, are they proper hoses? He's got a random red one. Looks like he's got a
Random
little
red
bit of
one.
an airbox in there.
Yeah,
The
but
thing I made me worry about how well was that how was that cage welded in? Right? If he's starting to scrimp on little things like that, is that cage actually going to be? Is it even fixed to anything? You know, is he just randomly thrown it in?
Doesn't matter. You're never going to test it.
It's actually
Mate,
it's made of
T-boy.
cardboard. The cage is just
It's the
cardboard toilet
T-boy.
roll.
It's just
Come on.
cardboard toilet roll, right? Exactly. He's the T-boy. I'm nervous, right? I want to know that a cage has been, you know, it's been from Germany. I want it TIG welded, right? I want a proper sticker of approval on it. The thing I loved about this car, though, one was that, I mean, is Lowen a tuner or is that his name, the owner?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. But it got a lot of points from me for having a Scale Electric sticker.
Scale
on the
Electric's
side.
badge is amazing.
Same here. It's great,
Amazing.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
Just
it just
completely
reinforces that.
unnecessary.
No, it's
Yeah.
not unnecessary. It's necessary because it reinforces that this thing is a toy,
Yeah.
nothing else.
I don't take myself
Right?
seriously. This is fun.
That's
Brilliant.
that's an important message.
100%.
I think that's really good.
So, all right. So,
Also, with regards to the roll
Let's
cage, the editor didn't say, let's go to the track. The editor said, let's go for a little spin around the nearby roads near this
Exactly.
hypothetical situation, presumably.
yeah.
The roll
but-
cage
but-
could
but-
be made of toilet roll, right? And it wouldn't matter because all you're doing is going to Sainsbury's and back.
Yeah, but you've never, I don't know about you. I don't like
Totally.
getting in a car with somebody that I don't know, who I don't know how good they are at driving. I'd certainly be more nervous if I thought a roll cage bar could sort of go through my head like in a horror film just because he's clipped a curve badly on the way to Sainsbury's to
Yeah.
pick up some road test snacks.
You do have
I
a
was-
very head. There's a large.
I was
there's a
getting
large-
more worried about what
volume
was on the
danger.
steering wheel. Did you see what were those like moldy
Yeah.
bits on the steering wheel? Was
I
that
think
like,
I think he hasn't used it for a while. I think it's mold.
I think it is, or it's
That
the
is
remnants
it'll
of a
brush off, mate.
it'll brush off. Yeah, the remnants of a driving glove.
I quite like the little bit by the wheel along the sill or whatever that doesn't feel like it's doing anything, but it looks cool. Under the checkered bit by Lowen.
Oh, on the side skirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks cool.
It's
So
not
that's for brake
Sure,
cooling,
enough.
probably.
It's not for brake cooling, is it?
It
Doesn't
doesn't
do
matter. It looks
anything.
cool, doesn't it?
It looks
Right,
cool.
I don't know
It's
who's-
doing nothing.
I don't know who this is. So are we ready? 3, 2, 1. Ready to fend your choice now.
What the
Oh.
fuck is that? Come on.
Get out.
Oh, God.
Hey,
Who is this?
give me a minute and I shall get there. It's
Oh.
me.
Daniel. Why?
This is me. So, shall I
Bob.
explain? Shall I explain?
Sorry, the
what-
way you just went,
what it is?
this is me. It felt very Greatest Showman. So
This is
This
me.
is me.
I'm surprised it didn't get much more of an applause, if I'm totally honest. It's a fucking
I think
great
it's great.
car. Actually, I think that's the first time I've sworn on this episode. This is the
Oh, it is.
Fiat 20-valve turbo coupe. Was around for about 6 years, about 23 grand new. And look at it. It's a beaut. Italian front-wheel drive, torque steer heaven. This is great. Like, I think this had about 70,000 miles on it. It was lauded as a great opportunity to turn Fiat around. Was super fun to drive, scared a lot of people, had a whizzy turbo in there, sounded really good. It looked good in 1996. I actually, if I'm totally honest, I found this one, which was in budget. I think it was £4,900. But it was the only angle that they had on the ad. And I think it's the worst angle. From the front, it looks really cool. From the back, it looks really cool.
Picture.
No, but I couldn't. I didn't want to oversell it. But I'm definitely not. I'm not in danger of that, am I? But it's great. I think the one of the great things about the internals of this car is that they carried the body color through the dashboard. But look, it did 0 to 60 in 6 seconds. It beat the Porsche Boxster 2.7 on that launch. They did a Top Gear did a drag race with it. It was super expensive to insure. It broke down all the time. They ended manufacturing of it pretty early. Their run out edition was a Nürburg edition, I believe, but they're still like top like run out models are getting like 25, 30 grand for them. And I think if you know about this car and you pulled up with it, you'd get a lot of good nods. I actually really wanted to get a Ford Puma
Racing.
A racing Puma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought I would get. I was way
How many
off.
times out of budget were you?
5 times out of budget.
5, 6, yeah.
I was saying this to Sam before we actually pressed the record button. I thought 5 grand, you get some pretty decent metal. You can't get much, can you? You really can't. I was looking at like a Z3 2.8 hardtop, right? Roadster. They're like 20 grand.
What?
It's ridiculous.
Really?
They didn't make many of them. Not the M3, just the 2.8 engine one of the first editions. I looked at 206 Rally, of course, 20 grand. I looked at a Peugeot 405 MI16 that had like 280,000 miles. That was 9 grand. So anyway, I thought this might be in budget. This one was. It's quirky as hell. I think it would get a lot of Marmite reaction. It goes pretty well. It sounds pretty good for a 4-pot 2-liter turbo. And I think it was a great choice, and I stand by it.
So interestingly, one of my first choice was a Mazda MX-5, and I was like,
Great choice, Duts.
Great choice.
You know,
Great
well,
choice.
well, my point is that I can't turn up as the T-boy in that, and this feels a little bit like that. And also, it reminded me of men behaving badly. But that's why I rejected it.
This is
Very
definitely not an MX-5. An MX-5 would be up for much more debate. A great driver's car, of course, but
MX-5 is a great choice, in my opinion.
yeah.
Well, it wasn't my
Yeah,
choice,
same.
but you know.
Well,
so
Dan,
yeah,
Dan, I think you've made a fucking terrible choice here. I hate it.
I agree.
my other choice, so up until yesterday, my other choice, my choice was the Audi A2. Always loved those cars. I thought they were fantastic. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get ridiculed for how boring that is. And it came the Italian 2-wheel drive. And you all hate this one too. But anyway, I love it. There we go.
Well,
John, why do
okay,
you
mate,
hate it?
well done. Why do I hate it? Look at it. It's an absolutely ridiculous machine. I do actually remember one of the guys, when I was about 15, one of the guys in the village came home with a silver one of these with a spoiler on it and some body kit. It did look kind of cool in person. Maybe this is just a really bad angle of it. Because I remember quite liking these when I was a kid, and it probably does drive fine, etc., etc. And actually, the new Fiat Coupe is pretty cool. The drop top 2-seater thing is actually pretty cool. I just think this looks like something a 60-year-old grandma would drive to be cool and hip. And I absolutely hate it. I wouldn't go near it with a barge pole. There we go. But I'm dying to know what Shonet's choice is. If it's not an MX-5, I thought he would go with that. That's what you got.
And I believe he's up next.
Let's see who's up next. Yeah.
You're going to be very disappointed.
Selling yourself. Oh, Duts.
Hold on, I've updated this. How is this not?
Nice try, Duts.
Well, no,
As a
this is
closing
all right.
point, this is all right. This is a good choice.
Yeah, I think
it's
this is a good choice.
I updated the images. That's really weird that you don't have the update. So I had some images of the back as well.
There was a cut-off point. I mentioned in the WhatsApp group there was a cut-off point.
Yeah, sorry. So it's obviously it's a Renault Clio Sport 180. So I think as a T-boy, you don't want to turn up in anything too flashy. You want to be like a little bit under the radar, but like have the nod that you know what you're talking about. It's a 2-liter engine. It's a driver's car, right? So it's raw, it's engaging, you know, really good balanced car. It's a lot of fun.
I think it's a great shout. I really like this. Obviously, you can go up and up, can't you? Until that one with a V6 in the boot with a Clio. But I think this is a good shout. Well done.
And also, I went for a slightly younger model because, like, obviously, this shape, like, I think this is a 2004, right? So when you get into 2008, 9, they become a little bit more sexy. But then that's when everything becomes a little bit more modern and it's not quite as raw to drive. So I stuck with the older model. I tried to find something with a really fun paint job like your low-end Ski Electrics, but I couldn't. Not for 5K.
So on the follow-up question, that's when the editor asks you to go for a spin, how's it going to go? Are you going to get to 60 miles an hour or maybe just
Straight to
never?
Sainsbury's.
Mate,
No,
mate, that thing's got a 2 litre and it weighs like 1,000 kilos. Of course you are. Very quickly.
Good.
I think it's a good choice. I think it's much better than your previous choice. What did your MX-5? I think this is a better choice. I do. I think it's very safe. I think it's very safe, and that's why you chose it.
I'm not top drawer car, so I've got to take what I can.
Me and Duts are here in the dregs, but like I don't know, buddy, it just looks so dull.
It's a bit boring, isn't it? It's a bit boring.
Yeah. I'm a T-boy. I don't want to turn up too flashy.
Mate, you're not going to attract anything in that other than dust. But no, it's a very sound choice. I'm not going to have any. There's definitely no lipstick remarks coming out on this week's episode.
On this one. What I would say, I think it's a solid choice. It's an absolute banker. That's where I go with this. Okay. I don't think anyone could criticize you for picking it. I think if you turn up in that, there'll be subtle nods, right? People might be intrigued about the year, right? They look at it, they go, it's not a trophy, right? Okay. But they respect that you've not got the updated model because whilst it looked better, it had a terrible gearbox. So I think people would be happy with this. Maybe one thing that's coming out of this discussion for next time is people probably need to put a bit more effort into picking good photos to sell the car to us, right? You've got one go at this, and I think, yeah, particularly Dan. I didn't say much about the Fiat. I think it's ice cold, but you genuinely picked the worst side of it or worst angle. That was
As I said, it's the only option
possible.
of photo I had. So yeah,
You've got to sell it, mate. You've got to sell to win here. Okay, so I think I'm up next. So I thought this was a strong choice. French hatchback. Okay, hot hatch, well respected. But what would be the next level beyond that? If you were a top draw,
Vauxhall Calibra.
That's a Vauxhall. Yeah.
No. If you were looking at French hot hatches,
it's a pug.
All right, and you're trying to pick out what would be the best.
A yellow 405 or 306.
Oh, the GTI 6. Yeah, nice.
That's what you'd find.
Is that $5,000?
Unbelievably, found one for
it's
$5,000.
It would be $10,000 if it was a proper color.
Exactly. It's not the greatest of the colors.
I love
right,
gold.
but I feel like so. What would we call it? A sort of goldy bronze.
Gold.
I didn't.
It's more of a dumpy brown, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not. And I did look to see if there was another picture where the dumpy brown also didn't match the dumpy brown on the ground. He took some terrible photos of these. These were genuinely the best 2 or 40 that he took. He didn't take a single one of the inside of the car, but took 40 terrible photos.
I think if I was in marketing, I'd call this color Diarrhea Sunrise.
Ooh, beautiful.
Half scale.
But very few owners, right? Mechanically in great shape. Actually, if you looked at all the photos he took, whilst they were terrible, it did prove that everything that was in full working order that mattered. And yes, the 306 GTI 6, these are super rare now. They were absolutely, they didn't make many of them. They hardly sold any of them. But up there with the things like the 205 GTI and the the rallies of the 106.
They're definitely nowhere near that. They're nowhere near a 205 GTI or
a... 100%. They made lots of 205 GTIs. They didn't make many of these.
Oh, they didn't make many of them because they weren't as good.
It wasn't because they weren't as good. There was a challenging economy at the time.
The only reason why they put a
Is it
sixth gear in it is because the engine was so turbo shit. It's the only way to get extra speed.
These are absolutely
And the
Same.
gearbox was super reliable because they never got into the sixth gear. There was plenty of room in that. It's like, keep on going.
If this
Genuinely,
wasn't
I
gold,
do.
like
Yeah.
who would see that? Who would see someone turn up in an old, small Peugeot 306 and go, "This guy, what a legend!" Like this just looks like something someone's aunt had in 1996.
Quick question: how much did it cost? Have you got enough money to spray it?
No, I right at the limit, and this was the cheapest one I could find. All of the others were stratospheric pricing, so which was
Weirdly,
frustrating actually.
the launch, that color is the launch color.
I mean, I like it. The color is the best thing about it. The color has more value than the rest of the car put together.
I'm just looking at, I'm going to quote something here. Hang on. Can I quote this?
Who do you think he's going to quote? Thoreau?
The best car ever, I think, is what it's going to say.
It's going to be Keith.
The best.
Hang on. So the Australian Top Gear said this. The Peugeot 306 GTI 6, a 1990s hot hatch icon, revered for its brilliant chassis, communicative handling, and high revving 170 horsepower 2-litre engine, paired with a 6-speed gearbox. It is widely considered one of the best handling front-wheel drive cars ever, offering engaging analog driving experience with a well-sorted suspension. Wow. I mean,
There you go.
I'm not sure we should be selling other people's cars. That's
no,
not the name of the game, Dan.
Yeah,
No,
also,
credit where credit's due.
Dan
But I
Google
quite like.
reads it out. I don't know about this.
I mean, I'm now starting to think that we should all be Googling quotes from car reviews to help our causes, because I didn't know any of that other than I just recalled it was brilliant. I do have a story about one of these though. I won't say the name of the person, but Simon, of course, Simon has the memory. Dennis has a memory of a goldfish. He doesn't remember anything, right? So he's a complete use. I'll tell a story here and he'll just look at me blankly. There were two people in our school, I would argue, who had sort of quite competitive cars. There was a chap in our year who had a BMW that he put, and it wasn't really, obviously really a BMW, it was a 316 that he put M badges on and M body kit on. And I used to absolutely love reminding him on a daily basis that it wasn't an M3. And he used to get really grumpy about it. But the coolest car in our car school car park was actually, very sadly, somebody that we knew whose one of their parents died, and he inherited a large sum of money when he was just about to buy a car. And what he bought, and I recall this because he asked me what he should buy, and I made a recommendation, and in fairness, he went and bought it. He bought one of these, but a rally edition. So a 306 Rally in black interior. And the thing I remember most about it was that the insurance in the first year was the same price as the car. Because he was 17, right? It wasn't that he couldn't get insured. He could get insured, and he spent the same amount of money in that first year, and he then kept it for a while. And I have stayed friends with him over this period of time. I know he kept it for at least 5 years, paying incredible insurance rates because he just loved it. He just absolutely loved it. And he still says, I saw him recently, and I obviously didn't mention his podcast or anything, but I talked to him. I said, do you still miss that 306 Rally? He said, and he still says he's got a great car. He's like, best car I've ever had. 100% best car I've ever had.
Okay.
And yeah, it was amazing when we were younger. Absolutely amazing. I only went out in it a few times, but it was just phenomenal. And I've always held the 306 Rally in this kind of special spot. And when I saw that one of these was in budget, I was like, no, it's got to be one of these.
But this isn't in budget because it's not a rally. This is the shitter version called the GTI 6.
They were fundamentally the same car.
They're fundamentally different.
Bollocks.
The GTI 6 and the Rally really weren't.
Man, your arms must
Rally
be...
was slightly lighter, had better paint schemes, but was basically the same car.
Okay, so you'll be happy. You would be happy that your brother got given the Rally and you got the GTI 6 because there was only one of each. You'd be happy with that decision, right?
Yeah, I'd be happy with this.
Yeah, okay.
There was
never.
They were splitting hairs between these two in all the reviews at the time. Ted.
I don't think
you
that.
can pick either.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Do you want to Google it? Do you want to check?
Let's
No
not do
more
that.
Googling.
Let's not do that. No more Googling. Might work out in my favour. Should we move on to the next car?
Let's move on.
Let's
That
do
was
it.
good, though.
Okay.
Good choice, Sam.
Oh, secret. Deada's car choice. Sam, do not remove this box before we go live.
It's a bit of a surprise here. So you can, well, no, you can remove the box. Remove the box live, Sam.
I can't do that live. It'll be, oh.
Please be a Skoda Superb. Please.
Is it just going to be your car?
Laurent Perrier edition or whatever it was?
Laurent Killimer. And the police used these because they were so comfortable.
I mean, I was going to enjoy the reaction.
Oh!
It is.
Oh,
That is not in budget, Simon Devon.
So the Skoda Superb 2.0. Yeah. Anyway, next slide, please. So
Yes.
Oh, I knew you just random. I knew this was you. I'm just going to pick 2 cars. Yeah, sure. Why not?
quieten down. It's my zone here. So assuming that I'm 18 and so it's 1999, then my 2026 5K is now 2,222 quid, which gets me a 90s Golf Mark II GTI G60 Supercharged that has now, in 2026, appreciated up to 25K, which is 5 times what I paid for it as a T-boy. It's very clever. Obviously, I've made that choice today in 2026, so the benefit of hindsight is fucking easy peasy. So I'm not that clever, but
Sorry, you're a very old T-boy.
well, yeah, but you said I'm about to get this job, and also I need to be old enough to drive, so I'm going to be like 17 or 18 anyway. So I just said let's start at 18 because you're about to get the young journalist job realistically. So whatever, I've stuck myself
Fine.
at 18 in 99.
So you've gone back in time.
Yeah, because I feel like nowadays things have changed. So I went for 2 options. I like the idea of what would I have chosen if I could have gone back, like when I would have been a T-boy. So I would have gone, this would have been the choice. Mark II GTI, absolute banger, held its price, goes like shit off a shovel or whatever, looks cool, proper the old school boxy vibe. They were quality, the end. Nowadays, if it's today, 2010, 2.5 litre BMW Z4 manual, petrol convertible to demonstrate that I am a testosterone fueled dickhead. But it's also nice and fun and silly, which is what a young boy racer should be driving. It's the functional equivalent of the 3 Series that every young executive hopes that they get as their company car. But it's more extroverted and hairdressery, which loses you respect points from some people in the gallery. But the reality is you're never going to earn respect from a load of those old farts anyway, because you're a young kid. So you might as well choose something that you decide you don't care what they think and it's fun, which will earn you more respect. And the editor's going to have a blast with the top down in a way that he wouldn't have with a 3 Series. And everyone in the gallery is there because they loved fun cars when they were a kid and they want to see that love passing on to a new generation, not some pragmatic sad sack choosing something boring. So this was a shade under $5,000 and it seems fun so far.
you've really hoovered the fun out of this segment, mate. I'm really sorry about it. Like so many words and context required. It was a straightforward thing. And
They're both great.
And you've got a G60, but you removed the really great BBS alloys and put some fucking Halford tins on it. Why have you done that?
That was the picture I could find.
How much was that?
Well, back in the day, it would have been 2,222 quid if I bought it in 1999 when it came out. In 1999.
That's not true. That's wrong information.
No,
it was not that
just
much.
nonsense.
I've just checked.
Nonsense.
That's nonsense.
Dutch,
So wait,
what did you want to say?
I just want to understand this. Have you just thrown the rules out of the window and just created some kind of
this is like if I had that equivalent money when I was when I would have been a T-boy, this would have been the choice. If I was a T-boy now, the Beamer.
Okay, right.
But I like your MX-5
And are you
choice
getting
for
that
the same
Beamer?
reason.
Are you getting that Beamer for $5,000?
That
Yeah,
was
that's-
Auto Trader 4995.
Is it working?
Jeez.
How is
Never
that
known.
£5,000?
I don't
That's
know.
a lot
But
of
it's,
car
yeah,
for
like I
£5,000.
just did like Auto Trader give us.
Is it Cat D?
I don't know. Maybe.
No, I've struck out your first answer. Nonsense. Right. So let's just talk about the secondary answer you've provided.
Was
right?
this? Oh, you bought it from Mark Payne, didn't you? That's what you did.
That was my first point. I was going to say, you've gone, what car is going to gain me respect amongst, this is about road testers, right? You need to read the scenario here, Dennis. You need to get into the mindset, okay? When Mark Payne bought one of these, he didn't even get our respect, let alone road testers, okay? Right? We were like, why have you bought that car? Right?
I feel
When
like
Ladders bought one, I mean, the only thing that validated it was when, for reasons that nobody understands, Ladders bought one, which I'm pretty sure he regrets based on the amount of stick he took for it. The only reason he seemed to buy it was that Gemma took it for a test drive and he thought she looked really hot in it. And that was it. And then she never drove it again. And then he had to live with it for ages, right?
But that's perfect.
one,
You're 18. You're hoping someone gives you a blozzer in this car in the next 2 years. That's plausible. Remember, like, this isn't supposed to be some long scale practical thinking. You're supposed to be an 18-year-old who likes cars, for some reason has £5,000 and can get something that looks like this. And you look like a dickhead, sort of hairdressery twat, who'll probably prang it into a lamppost. That is the point of this exercise.
I think you've added 18, like out of nowhere. That wasn't in anything.
Well, it's the T-boy thing is where I'm going.
And I
Freddie.
think
You
it's
can't be
implied, isn't it?
32.
It's implied.
Yeah.
None of us are getting T-boy jobs now.
No, but let's talk about this car as well, right? First up, the addition of the M3 colors into the grille. Okay, that is from a mile off with binoculars the sign of a complete knob, right? Okay. Anyone who's interested in cars sees that. It's like, right, stay out of this person's way because they're an idiot, right? Following up by, they've added some kind of terrible mesh grille to the grill at the bottom. That's non-standard. They've actually gone out of their way to add that monstrosity.
Okay.
More worryingly, and this
Seems
is the
fine.
thing that makes me nervous, right? I don't know what's on the back of this car, what made up badge this person's added. It probably says performance, BMW performance. Because they've added, look at the stupid. No. Right? Because it's probably like a 1.3.
It's
right?
actually a
They've
three.
probably got something.
It's a 325. I've just found it.
You just found it, have you? Right.
Yeah.
But why? But what's upset me about this car is the badges they've put on the wheels.
I agree. That looks so terrible.
If you turned up to that at an automotive magazine, I think you probably would lose your job. It'd be that blunt. They'd just go, do you know what? The fit's wrong here. You need to just not.
You can't.
Just not go.
You're not even allowed to make the tea.
Looks fine to me.
Get in your car and go back to the hairdressers. Make tea there.
No, I think it's more like you'd get introduced to go to the Scalextrics club that you were the chairman of. That's probably the type of car you would be using.
No,
I am surprised that it is £5,000. It's a 325. It's manual. I think that's a lot of car for the money.
23i.
It's great.
Euro 5 2-door.
Anyway,
has anyone not been yet?
We're all good.
We're all good, aren't we? God, I was hoping we could end on like a high note, but we can't. It's just
we can go back to my little Scalextric car if you like.
Well, I'm thinking now that wasn't a bad choice. But what we're going to do for avid listeners of the podcast, of which we're very big in China this week, I don't know if you're aware, we will be popping a poll up at the end of this where you can vote to see whose answer you liked the most.
Well, can we retrospectively do that for last week too? Because that would have been more.
We did it for last week, and impressively, I won with 2 votes to 1. So
did you make both of those votes?
I couldn't make both of those votes, but
we did it for last week, and you didn't tell anyone except you and Lindsay.
No,
he told me. That's why my car got the vote.
John's car got the other vote. So yeah, but it turns out I won that round. But now we're officially telling people that there's a competition. Hopefully, we'll see where we end up. Okay, that is the end of the car section. But importantly, what does that mean? All right, we're back after that commercial break, and we're into all of our favourite section. Let's go with Over to you, Jonathan.
It's the best, isn't it? Right, Project Sentinel. This is one that I've been tracking for a while, a few years. It's actually a recent one, so you're going to be, yeah, it's not one of those old school CIA ones. But let me tell you all about it. The story starts in the early 2010s inside a relatively obscure branch of the South African government, the Strategic Crime Intelligence Directorate, SCID for short. A unit that already works with large data sets relating to organised crime. In around 2019, a small team inside the department began collaborating with data scientists from the University of Pretoria and a private analytics company called Axiom Behavioural Systems. The project was overseen by a senior security official named General Peter van der Merwe, with technical leadership from a data scientist called Dr. Naledi Kumalo. The objective sounds simple enough. Use data to predict crime before it happens. South Africa has some of the highest violent crime rates in the world, and officials were desperate to get ahead of the problem rather than simply respond to it. Project Sentinel attempted to combine multiple streams of information: police incident reports, CCTV analytics, mobile phone movement data, and even financial transaction patterns into a single predictive system. The algorithm looked for behavioral signals that historically preceded serious crimes. Things like sudden changes in travel patterns, unusual spending behavior, or repeated proximity between known offenders and potential targets. Leaked internal figures claimed the system was 70% accurate in predicting the location of armed robberies within a 24-hour window. In one pilot test in Johannesburg in 2023, the model flagged 132 high-risk incidents, of which 91 were reported to the police within the predicted timeframe. The amazing thing, though, is that the system didn't just predict where crimes might occur, it started identifying individuals statistically likely to commit them. The program produced shortlists of people whose behavior patterns closely matched those seen before previous violent offences by others. The debate is still raging in South African Parliament as to whether the police should intervene early through surveillance, questioning, or preventative detention before any crime actually happens. To this day, they have not arrested anyone before a crime has been committed. You could say the data requirements alone would be too big, it would have enormous legal issues, and the obvious risk of false positives might be unacceptable. But with modern data analysis and AI systems improving rapidly, something like Project Sentinel could be hugely valuable to society, if a little Orwellian. And governments facing serious crime problems have already approached the South African government to try to duplicate the system in their own countries. It's an unusual one, as I say, because it's an ongoing program. I've left the world of Cold War CIA tactics behind us this time. But you still have to tell me whether you think it's true or false. Project Sentinel, an experimental predictive policing program, or bollocks?
So I have to ask, are there 3 people lying in a bath with things on their head?
No, there are not. It's predictive
Okay.
AI and computer modeling.
Okay, just checking.
Deaders, what do you think?
I mean, why not? It's completely possible. Loads of people are looking into it worldwide. It's not actually that difficult. It makes total sense. Is it called Project Sentinel? Are they doing it in South Africa? I don't know. I'm going to say yes, because it's definitely doable. It makes, like I say, perfect common sense. And it's really like all modeling, machine learning, whatever. There's no massive black box there. It's like, this is the same as getting a good tip off, as getting good information. If you were out having a fag out the back of a pub and you overheard 2 gangsters saying, "Oh, we're going to knock over the local bank next week," that's just a tip, right? That's probably going to happen. Therefore, like, this is just that on a sort of more obscured scale with more data, but it's the same concept. So yeah, why not? I'm
All right,
surprised
Deaders
more
is
folk
going
aren't doing it.
true. So look, Deaders' idea is that they are tracking everything, the mobile phone movements, they're tracking messages, they need all that data to make the model happen. The model might be possible, but have they actually got access to all that data? Is it that Orwellian? Shomit, what do you think?
So there's two things, right? So right now, security services monitor as much as possible to predict what might happen, right? The other thing is, if you're just doing it, so yes, they already do that to a certain level around the world in every single country. To have access to all of this stuff and preempt like just general crimes like a robbery, I don't see the point, because you can't arrest someone for thinking they're going to do it. That's a lot of money to spend on knowing that something's going to happen but not being able to do anything about it. Just like, right, there's going to be a robbery there. We can't stop them from doing the robbery. We'll just watch them do the robbery and then we'll arrest them. If it is that person, I'm going to go no. It's just, yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't
Presumably
add up.
they would
That's
intervene.
seen some. Go on, Dennis.
Sorry, I was going to say, presumably they would intervene. Like if you had the information, you're the police, and you get a high probability score that there's going to be a violent crime, because this was violent crimes, like so a armed bank robbery, you'd presumably intervene. Like you'd watch them, you'd surveil them strongly around that time, and then if it looks like they're about to start to go ahead with it, then you grab them with the guns and the plan and get them.
But so John's example was there was 100 and I think he said 120, 121.
90 actual events of 132, yeah.
132 high-risk incidents predicted, of which 91 were reported to the police within the predicted timeframe.
And what was? Do you know what that time frame was? Because if we're talking about a year,
24-hour window. So the model was 70% accurate in predicting the location of armed robberies within a 24-hour window.
Yeah,
Presumably it's better now.
But the police just can't do that, right? So 130, whatever it was, the police can't send out, let's say if it's violent crimes, you need to send at least 4 people to each of those.
Oh, no, but it doesn't. Those are not necessarily all in the same period of time. So it's predicting all of those independently. And like I said, that was in 2019. So, now here we are 7 years later with the advent of AI.
Well, even just better machine learning models with more data. But even then, even if it was 24 hours, if there were actually 91 actual events, then the police, if they're not, needs to be scaled to deal with 91 violent crimes in 24 hours. But
because that's how it works. You just scale the police to deal with the problem.
It isn't, but obviously, Goldberg is a nightmare. But as Hunt is saying, it's 24 hours from the prediction, so that makes sense.
No, I still don't think you'd be able to send police out for something that might happen based on machine learning and be like, right, well, we think there might be a bank robbery there, so we have to send, we don't know how many people, let's say 3 people, so we have to send a tactical unit, so that's 16 people. Like on the off chance that there's going to be a bank robbery. I don't think they do that. Sorry.
Well, 9 out of 13 is a pretty high chance. That's not an off chance, that's an on chance.
If it's true.
If it's true.
All right. We got a true and we got a false. Danny boy, what are you saying?
If it was that good and it's been going since 2019, so we're 7 years later, wouldn't they have just scaled up all of the people with guns and sorted it out and there'd be no crime in South Africa anymore? Surely, if they believed in it that much and it was that accurate, they would just solve the concerns that are in the majority of South African districts everywhere. I also think that if this thing existed, would they focus it on that as a solve? Wouldn't there be bigger things to apply that technology to, rather than just, I don't know, like big, like full terrorism and things? This sounded like it was just generic petty crime.
It's more
violent crime,
though, right? You've got it's harder to do. Violent crime, especially if it's using the information vectors that Hunty's talking about in terms of like local criminals, movements of like local.
That's what I mean. It's like, if this technology was that good, it would be applied at a much higher terrorism level to stop shit happening, not just stealing sweets and maybe shooting someone. Anyway, I stand by my first thing, which is that if it was that good, they would then just say, right, we need to bring in the army and we'll just deal with all the bad people pretty quickly. It's been going on for 6 years. Why is it still in like possibles and maybes? Like, because
they can't get their head around arresting people before a crime happens.
No, but you can't.
No, I agree. But they'll just have the people to wait for them to do it and then arrest them and then they'll be done. Surely that's the proof point. That's the proof.
That is the thing. Like if you had a 9 out of 13 chance that violent crime was going to occur,
You just have all these people.
You're morally obliged to start to deploy units at high, because of that 9 and 13, that's the average, right? But each individual event is going to have a higher or lower probability score. And for ones that are higher than 9 out of 13, ones that are like 90% likely, you stick one police officer on a bit of surveillance to sort of double check it. And yeah, this geezer's stockpiling guns. He's just got a tattoo. Successful bank robbery 2010 or
Yeah.
surely you do something about it. So that starts.
I think it's bullshit. I think it's complete bullshit.
All right, so we've got a true and two falses. Let's go to the final complete guess. It's Sam.
I'm just sad that we don't have the group's precog here with us, who would be able to would have obviously predicted that you would ask this question and would have thought through the answers.
He's already sent the answer in.
Very true. He's also, well, it feels like you've just read out the plot of Minority Report as a starting point. What time frame was this again, John?
The survey started, or the program started, Operation Sentinel started in 2019. The pilot test I was talking about with 91 out of 132 predicted is in 2023, and the program is still running.
Didn't you say 2010 at some point?
I think I just said that.
I don't think. Yeah.
You're right. The story started in the early 2010s, so the program started in the 2010s. But then you remember I was talking about Axiom behavioral systems. That was when the actual program started running. So they started thinking about it in 2010, and in 2019 it all got kicked off.
Well, it didn't, because it's all a lie. But carry on.
So I've never been to South Africa, but I do know people from South Africa. And if there's one thing people from South Africa have told me repeatedly, mainly because they all live in Wimbledon or Shepherd's Bush, is that it's quite a backward place where most things don't work very well, apart from small areas of the country. So on that basis alone, I'm going to say it's bollocks. Anywhere where large portions of the country have to live in gated communities, and if you accidentally go the wrong way, you might get shot or burnt with a flamethrower. I think the idea that they're on top of crime enough and have enough resources, they can't even keep the lights on. The idea that they could run an all-seeing, all-dancing AI program with what sounds like sort of
Not
Palantir
AI.
level. Not AI. Is it not AI? It's just
ML.
low level. Fine. Well, a subset, isn't it? Right? It sounds like Palantir and what they're doing at scale in all kinds of different places.
Just going to pass the
So-
pedant award up to Simon Dedman. Just passing it up.
Yeah, but we don't have time. We don't have time to get into the mechanics of that discussion. But
We'll all lose. That's if we
I
did.
we won't lose. It's dead us. Right? It's got to be bollocks, isn't it? It's just got to be bollocks.
Totally bollocks. It's total bollocks.
I'm
And if
gonna-
that is
I'm gonna
true, I will eat my hat.
Yeah, and also,
Oh.
well, don't do that. Don't do that. This has ended badly for anyone that bets, right? The other two things that we used to do, I like hanging my hat on something. At some point, I think you said the agency was called Skid or something. I was like, bollocks immediately. Second thing was, I
Strategic
think you
Crime
named,
Intelligence Directorate.
That's
Yeah,
definitely
sure,
off a bit
and
as well.
then I think you named a Scottish rugby player you said was like involved
Yeah,
with it. And I
Peter
think
van
that
der
was-
Merwe.
He didn't say Duan van der Merwe. He said
Peter van der Merwe. That's his cousin.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, his cousin.
that made me giggle, to be fair.
No.
And what was the lady's
No.
name? What was her name?
It's ridiculous.
No,
It was
Dr.
ridiculous.
Auntie's giving
You can't even say it.
Dr. Naledi Kamalo.
No,
the Lady Kamala.
no.
If I could quickly spell
Absolutely
that
not.
backwards, that's going to say something funny, isn't it? I know.
Isn't that the bit at the start of Lion King? Naledi
Oh, there we
Kamalo.
This is the lion.
We haven't had Lion
Look
King
at a
yet.
lion.
Okay, so where are we at? We got 3 no's and 1 yes.
Correct. Yeah. Now,
Put us out of our misery, John.
I'll put you out of your misery. Guys, remember, nobody is more motivated to stop violent crime than the South Africans. They have a terrible problem with violent crime. And also, they are not shy about scraping people's data and tracking people. They don't have the same freedoms as we have in Europe. But it's rubbish, isn't it? I made it up. It's the story of Minority Report without the precogs. You got it straight away.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, it was excellent though. It was good though. That was very good.
Good stuff.
But Dennis knows it's possible, so he's going to make a
Dennis
lightweight
knows it's
thing.
possible, and Dennis knows about AI, so it's okay. So,
It is
The
possible.
thing is, though, right? It would definitely be possible if they could get hold of all that data without
course.
Yeah.
massive
yeah.
infringement on human rights.
But that's
But
exactly
that's
what
not a
every
problem.
single.
Palantir is that already.
You may as well
Sorry,
just
Daz,
ask
that's
everybody into a police cell, say, are you going to go and rob something tomorrow? Yeah, I am. Okay, fine. We're going to wait and watch you do it. Is that okay?
This is exactly what every security agency is already doing,
Oh.
right? They're trying to figure out who's going to commit a crime and following them and watching them,
Yeah.
but for bigger crime.
Exactly. That was the thing as well. Like, I think it's if it wasn't done on South Africa, and the perception was it was for petty crimes, maybe, right? But it was, if the technology was around, you'd use it much more. Anyway.
Well, we don't know that it's not being used like within the whole system for bigger crimes at an international level. Like probabilistic threat assessment is probably being used, but you also do all the nuts and bolts of on the ground policing.
Did Meg go to Costco today, buddy?
I don't know. I don't think so.
She must have picked
Why?
up those really big straws that you're clutching, because that's
Oh. Yeah, I mean, Sam,
All
the
right.
skid thing set me off as well. But like once the three of you were no's, I can't be a no as well. There's no fun if you're all no.
Correct.
think
Well
that-
done,
I
guys.
think-
You did well. You beat
Yeah,
me
no,
this
Can I
round.
just take a moment? That might be the funniest thing that Dan's ever said. Let's move on.
no.
Wrong.
I'm not putting it in the trailer though. So right,
Well, look,
moving swiftly on.
yeah,
No.
I was going to say that the South Africans could predict crime, but what's Sam going to predict this time?
Good.
Very good. The first thing we're going to predict is how wrong everyone was last week. So,
Last week.
quick reminder, England played Ireland. The question was, will the total number of points scored in the match by both teams combined be over or under 45.5 points? The final score in the match was 21 to England and Ireland 42. 21 plus 42 is 63, which equals over. So the winners of last week were...
There are no winners.
Well, there are.
No.
There are some losers.
Well,
There aren't. I'll
There's some
explain to you
losers.
I'll explain to you exactly why there aren't any winners. So, first of all, this Six Nations has been absolutely ridiculous. I'm not even going to go into that. The people who said over, they were predicting that England would absolutely smash them. That's what they were saying. If you listen back to the podcast, the whole premise of being over 40 whatever points it is that England would go nuts. Everyone was wrong. Every single pundit in the world has been wrong about the Six Nations, about every single match. It's been ridiculous. And I'm not just, I'm, I'll hold my hands up. I was the loser, but it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I don't know what to say about the Six Nations. It's the weirdest Six Nations I've ever watched, but in a great way.
I think that's a great point you've made, Shomit. But if you look at the
Salty, yes.
table, it says you're a loser.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it says...
Yeah.
You're taking it well, Sam.
I've literally just owned that.
It's okay.
Go back
Okay.
10 seconds ago.
But you've also called
It's
all the
cool.
winners losers too. I don't understand that.
Yeah, well, they are. They got it wrong.
No,
They all got it wrong.
We got it right. The question was, did you go up or above or lower? And we got above.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. But your logic was wrong. All of your logics were wrong.
Did everyone expressly say that was their logic?
Yeah. I think everyone said.
I definitely
England
said
will-
that England would smash Ireland and the score would be greater than 50 points. I
Yeah,
definitely
it was
said that.
my logic too. 100%. Yeah, Shomit, I'll take it. You can put loser next to my name if you like. I got the prediction totally wrong, or right for the wrong reasons.
Right for the wrong reasons,
I don't deserve the win here. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about rugby, so I just said over without really thinking about it. So I feel like,
All right. Well, in which case, Deaders, you can have that. I think
Dennis
Deaders
is the only winner. Yeah.
Yeah. As I'd say that the other three of you know about rugby, right? But we all thought England were going to walk it to an extent.
I also
Headers is the only one that just picked something.
I put my name in green because I was a winner. That's what I did. So, and that's the bottom line.
You take it to the bank, buddy.
I'm going to take it to the bank. I'm going to add it to my list of wins.
Can you put
maybe
maybe you put Dan and John to loser, but Shomit to sore loser. Maybe
sore loser.
That's
good
better.
point. Good point.
Hey mate, if we can't talk about the results, there's no point in doing this.
No, I totally agree. It has been fascinating to watch, and this Saturday, I mean, I've stopped. I usually bet on most games for the Six Nations. I lost £20 on this game, and I can't bet any more money because it's just so unfucking predictable. Second time I've sworn, I think, on this podcast.
At least the third,
maybe. But yeah, I don't think I can. I don't know how to call it. I don't know.
I'm going to say that. I'm going to say this, and it will be obviously on this podcast. I think this has been the weirdest Six Nations ever. Everything has literally gone to shit. I know, I listen to a lot of punditry, and even the pundits are like, we have no idea what's going on. There was a conversation. I think it was like 2 weeks ago during the Fallow week, and Danny Kerr was talking to, I don't know, Chris Ashton, and he was saying, we all need the break because we have been hammered. None of us have come anywhere near being correct about anything for the last 3 weeks. We need this Fallow week as much as the players do. But I am going to say, I reckon the Six Nations has got a lot more fuckery in it. And I think this weekend, I'm going to put it out there. I think it's going to be a Scotland win, a Wales win, and an England win. I think everything that's not supposed to happen is going to happen this weekend. England is my biggest push, but I think the other two will happen. But we'll see. I will be wrong because everyone's been wrong.
If Scotland are ever going to have a moment, it is this tournament, and
I'd love them.
I agree. I totally agree. Tim and I were on a dog walk last weekend, and we were talking about the France Scotland game. Anyway, we finished the dog walk, and we got some reception. We've got the BBC app came up, and we were in hysterics to see the score. It was unbelievable.
90 points.
And we were shouting to Kate and China's like, what is this? They're like, what's happened? It's like, you wouldn't believe it. Like, what? It's like, what would you guess? Who was winning out of France or Scotland? They're like, well, obviously France, but now your reaction is Scotland. Yeah, and look at the points difference. They absolutely smoked them. But yeah, that's the great thing about sport, isn't it? Right.
And the other funny thing about that particular game is I think France scored 3 tries in the last, 15 minutes when Scotland had already walked it. So actually that scoreline would have been ridiculous if Scotland hadn't just taken their foot off the gas.
Yep, totally.
Right.
Well,
it's time to move on.
Good job.
Sorry, mate.
Let you lick your wounds, Shomit, as we move on to the next prediction. Okay.
Good work on the graphics here, by the way, Sam. Putting the work in. Or Hunty.
I was.
Whoever.
Oh, no. This was my good work.
An irony, right?
Yeah, some work going in. Appreciate it.
A little bit's happened. So, you might be aware of the book Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, the author of The Martian. There's a film version coming out. It's very exciting. It's got Ryan Gosling in it. Okay, it's the ultimate dad movie, a hard sci-fi from the guy who wrote The Martian, and it's all about a junior high school teacher who wakes up in space with amnesia, and he has to use basic physics and chemistry to figure out where he is and how to save the sun from dying. Okay, it's from the guys that made the Lego Movie. It's their first big budget, serious sci-fi, live action sci-fi. It's a global release. Okay, so it's actually opening on Thursday, the 19th. And in the US on the 20th. And the question we've got is, so by the close of its opening weekend, so that's really that Friday through to that Sunday, what percentage score will Project Hail Mary have on Rotten Tomatoes? And specifically, this isn't the critics score, this is the audience score. Okay, so what are people going to think of this when it comes out? Okay, So, couple of details to help you. Score is going to be used whatever's publicly displayed on the site at the deadline, regardless of the total number of reviews. Official results is the whole number displayed, right? No decimals. And its closest wins. And if two of us are equally distant, then it's a tie. Okay. And so conveniently, 23:59 where you are, Deaders, on Sunday is basically 8 o'clock in the morning here. So at the very least, I can get up and check it at that exact moment. So that's my Monday morning covered. All right then. So why don't we go to you first, Deaders? What do you think, mate?
People love competency porn. The Martian did very well. People love Ryan Gosling. This feels a little bit more far-fetched than The Martian in terms of high school versus NASA, the amnesia thing, restarting the sun, which sounds very much like the plot of Solar. I don't know if people saw Solar. Obviously, in Solar, they all went insane, but still, restarting the sun.
Was
vibe.
it Solar?
Was it Solar?
I think so.
You're right. No, it wasn't Solar. It was called something else.
Yeah.
Have you, sorry, really quickly, has anyone read the book?
No.
Yeah, so just to be clear, Dennis, the whole amnesia thing is he doesn't have amnesia and he got on, like he just is like kind of recreating what happened before he woke up because he's forgotten it because of him being in space.
Time travel, yeah.
So it's not like he just suddenly appeared and just.
Oh, he's
doesn't
not
know how
like
he's
doing
there.
the dishes and then all of a sudden.
No.
Here he is.
No.
Okay, well that improves things a bit.
Okay.
So I just feel like because of these things, and maybe that improves it a bit, there's more scope for it to stray into sort of silliness and lose the competency form porn fan base a little bit. I said 86% with that amnesia thing because that felt a bit like, oy vey. I'll bump it up to 87%. How about that?
Done. John?
Well, I hadn't heard of any of these things. I hadn't heard of the director, hadn't heard of the book. Don't really spend a lot of time thinking about these things. So I looked it all up, right? Project Hail Mary. Our first thought was, is it even a good story? 4.5 stars on Goodreads out of 1.25 million reviews.
Good.
1.25 million ratings, 170,000 reviews. So I was like, okay, we got a good basis here. And I was like, okay, what are the directors like? Yes, they've done some amazing films. Even down to Mitchells versus the Machines was done by the same guys, and that was one of the greatest movies ever, wasn't it? Across the Spider-Verse was one of theirs. They've obviously got some pretty good director techers involved. But they also did Cocaine Bear. And I don't know if you guys saw that. That was terrible.
It's horrible.
I love Cocaine Bear.
Like
Just
a fun
enjoy it.
concept, but I mean, really? Anyway, and
I
look,
watched it on a plane. It was great.
yeah, I mean, that's of course. Where else are you going to watch it? You're not going to go to the cinema for it. Look, it was a bump in the road for them. 65% on Rotten Tomatoes, so they do have the potential to really cock this up. But good story, good budget. Why wouldn't it be great? People love a sci-fi, as you guys have said. I'd written 88% here. I think that's a good sort of, Dr. Emmett Brown would appreciate an 88 number. Put me down for 88.
Done. Dan?
So I did my research and watched the trailer. I thought it was pretty cool. We haven't talked about the other kind of part of the story, which is around the little alien. That's quite refreshing. I think the context of when this is coming out, there isn't anything else much going on, and there hasn't been anything like this for a while. The Martian reviewed really well. You've all said those things. I think it might be a grower. So I think you might want to watch it twice. And it might get better because there is quite a good story, but it's also quite an epic CGI orgy of things from how it looks on the trailer. I really enjoyed the 2.5 minutes that I watched it. Going 91.
Matching the Martian score.
That is the same, isn't it? Yeah, I'm matching that.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Duts?
So having a quick, so same. I looked. So I looked at stuff that was roughly the same. So The Martian's at 91, Interstellar 83, which I think is disgraceful.
What?
That is
Whoa.
For 94. So kind of very similar. So I think so they're quite slow as movies go. So it's very interesting, very exciting for the right kind of person, but it's not an action movie. And Project Hail Mary will definitely, it's not an action movie. It's very slow growing. There's a lot about like building relationships and stuff in it. But I think first weekend is going to be a lot of people who have read the book, a lot of people who are really excited about it. It's going to be sci-fi fans. So I think we're talking like 2 days, right? 2-3 days before this happens. So I'm going to go, oh, I don't know. I'm going to say 95, and I think it would drop to about 90 after, as more people go and watch it. But I
Good
think,
answer.
about 95.
I think that is great thoughts. I actually had a similar thought, and I asked ChatGPT what happens generally to scores in Rotten Tomatoes. Do they start high and drop off, or do they start low and build when a cult following gets, created or whatever? And it said no. What happens is it starts high because all the people who want to see it and who are sort of invested in the story will get in there and do the reviews, and then it'll drop off as more sort of general public go. So yeah, the date is really important here, I think. So really interesting. I couldn't imagine it beating The Martian because The Martian was just bloody great.
Yeah.
But you
It's
might
very-
just
it's
be onto
very-
something there, Dutz.
It's very similar. Like it is very similar. Like it's
Yeah.
very like they've made The Martian really good in the cinema. Like when you listen to it, it's really engaging, but actually not that much happens. And that's exactly the same as Project Hail Mary.
Well, I think it'll be a grower, not a retreater.
shower.
So we'll see.
Sam, what do you
Right
think?
then.
Oh, this isn't fair. He gets to go last. You can just like
It's
pick
just
a
really
lovely
convenient. I
look.
hadn't thought about that. It is excellent. But I'd already written down my number, luckily, and I'm not going to change it. So I have read the book rather than listen to it. The first thing that I thought when I heard this was being made into a film is I thought that's a bad idea because
Classic Ellis.
I thought it was a TV series. I was struggling to see how they would bring it to life. Dan, you've already given away the main bit of the plot, but luckily the trailer does as well, which is there's an alien in it. Having read the book, I cannot envisage a way that they can make that alien cute in any way for a really interesting audience. So the idea that this might start well with the people that really want to go see it and then drop considerably, I think is probably realistic. So I think I was going to go a bit lower, right? So I think it might start quite high. So I actually was going to start on 90, but I think it'll drop into the low 80s because I can't quite work out how they're going to make it work. And I think it might not be that exciting. Maybe they're just brilliant filmmakers and they can pull it off. But I think having read The Martian and watched The Martian film, I could feel like I could see that transition a lot more sensibly than I could see this. This felt much more complicated. I felt there's a lot more complicated stuff going on, which they might struggle to bring to life on screen. So yeah, so I'm going to go with 90, and I think you're spot on, Dutz. I think it's going to end up. I think it might end up quite considerably lower with audiences because unless they can really dumb down some of the science, which is much more complicated, I think, than The Martian, I think it might struggle. But personally, I'm very excited to see it. I love the book. I thought it was great.
Me too.
All right. Okay.
Oh,
All
quite
right then.
divisive.
Let's see.
Yeah. It's
Along
exciting.
these lines, linking this to our first question, maybe we should all go and see it at the same time.
That's a great idea.
Ooh, that's a great shout. Are you here
Maybe
soon?
even together.
If we set up like social media pages, we could do like a quick little 5-minute. This is our opinion of it afterwards, like
No,
critics.
what we could do is we could set up a WhatsApp group to just agree to see it at the same time, or we could lobby the cinemas to not let anybody see it until we see it first.
That is true. We'd have to be quite famous to do that, I think. or corrupt.
Very good, Hunty. Very good.
Well, we've got an incredible swing in China now, so maybe we can lean on their film sensors to help us out. And on that note, no, there's absolutely no way I can segue from that to where we're going. John.
Well, if
I
you're
want to
going
say this to you.
to movies,
Well,
Well,
I
there's
make a tenuous
music
connection
in
between-
movies.
and in
Course.
China, and then
you could be
people in
driving
China
to
go
a
on
date.
dates. John, can you introduce this section on musical dates?
Yeah, let's do that. All right, it's the music section. And you can see I was probably feeling a bit nostalgic when I set this because we've already had a sort of 17, 18-year-old car round, and now we're 17 again in the music round. Flashback, you're 17, you just passed your driving test, and you've plucked up the courage to ask her on a date. I don't know who her is, just one woman from your past, I imagine. You arrive to pick her up in your Vauxhall Nova 1.2 SR, and off you go to dinner at the Harvester. You get in the car. What song plays first? Let's go to you,
Can I-
Deaders. I'm expecting
can I ask
something
a que-
massively
can I-
weird.
Can I ask a quick question before
Yeah,
you
go
move?
for it.
So when you say, is this what we would have played when we were 17?
Yep.
Or what we think? Okay, fine. That's it.
Flashback.
Done.
You're
Yeah,
17.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I went for my double CD of the best rock ballads in the world ever, which was just absolute brilliant date fuel. So it's not too sappy. There's obviously like you're trying to get in her pants. Still a bit rocky. Good rock pop songs. Kicks off with Queen's "It's a Kind of Magic." So that's my answer. But then runs into like Edwyn Collins' "A Girl Like You," Fleetwood Mac, Belinda Carlisle, Chris Rea, Dire Straits. Classics, but all kind of girl-friendly, good make-outable music that isn't so obviously make-outy that it's cringy.
Cool. So he just picks an album rather than a song, yeah?
Well, it starts
Give
with
us
the
a song
Samuel.
from it. Come on.
That is Queen. It's Kind of Magic. Number one.
Oh, okay.
This-
Sorry.
This
done.
one, side one. I'm going to stick with whatever the producers decided to stick with. That's the first one that comes on. That's the answer.
And this is, as Dutta said, I thought it was an excellent point. I had exactly the same thinking. So that's what old 17-year-old you would have picked, you think?
Yeah, with the music that's available at the time.
That's what old 17-year-old me did pick and successfully used to make out with girls for many years. This was my sword in the arsenal, was this album. I stand by it to this day, and that's why it's coming back up.
Fair play. I will say it wouldn't work now. If I got in the car with Ali and I put Queen on, she'd immediately turn it off. But anyway, there we go. Dutz, what have you got? What were you playing in your Vauxhall Nova 1.2 SR?
Okay, so this is so I struggled with this a little bit because I started off with like, what did I used to listen to when I was 17? And I was like, well, there was that in my car. I think I had the Lion King soundtrack. I had the Top Gun soundtrack. I had the Britney Spears soundtrack, and then I suddenly remembered when I was 17, I went through this little phase where I started to actually go to gigs. And in Bristol was a great place to go to gigs. There was loads of like international bands that were coming. So I went to go and see like J5. So obviously Concrete Schoolyard was immediately in my head.
Yeah.
Ugly Duckling, who were brilliant. Basement Jacks were in Bristol quite a lot. And they're like Bingo Bango, Red Alert. But then I settled on, and Hunter, you will back me up on this, Massive Attack. Because
Brilliant.
when I was 17, Massive Attack were basically playing on College Green every weekend. And,
Yeah, with that massive spider statue, right?
yeah, every fucking weekend. So we were going down there as much as possible to listen to Massive Attack. And if I was going to pick a song, it would have to be Teardrops.
Bam.
Nice.
Good choice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good
Start the date with a really sad song.
Yeah.
It's love is a word, buddy.
I love it. Well done, mate. Massive Attack. It's a great shout. And now I might have to change my song that I chose. But anyway, let's go to Dan while I think about that.
Actually, have you done the same?
Is it Love is a Verb?
Who?
Verb.
I say,
Dan, what you got?
Him of the Big Wheel did come into my mind pretty quickly, but I did have some fun with this. AI came back to me with what 1999 sounded like, and it said it sounded like the future try on glittery clothes, which I thought was hilarious. Teen pop waves of Britney, Backstreet Boys, and NSYNC, the Latin pop crossover of Ricky Martin, Shakira, Enrique Iglesias, and the digital production era began. Anyway, all that set aside, for me, it was Moby. And the album was Play, and specifically, I'm Gonna Find My Baby. And that is the song I would choose. I'm gonna find my baby. Whoa, before that sun goes down. And I think I played it, I don't know how many times. It got better because it was sampled on Gone in 60 Seconds, the film. And that made it come to life even more. So
Yeah, that was great in Gone in 60
yeah,
Seconds.
so
Yeah.
I have a huge. It was one of my favorite films, and then when I played it with my Pioneer head unit in my actual Nova, but I couldn't afford an
Nice.
SR. It was a GL, which gave it a sunroof, but that's and 5 gears, 1.3. Yeah, Moby, still love it today. Still very fresh in my opinion. And that's where I'm at.
Nice.
Great shout. Love it. Yeah, Moby appeared on my list as well. Sam, what have you got? And then I'll tell you mine.
Well, I spent quite a while in a sort of doom loop, which, as Dutta has alluded to, what does the 17-year-old me that I wish had existed listen to in 1999 versus what was I actually listening to? And then I had to then combine that with a crossover point, which was there were many times, I would say many times, sorry, when I was 17, a girl was getting in my car, and this was a real dilemma for me, right? What would I play and what would I listen to? And I
Dodgy.
can recall a number of occasions where I got this wrong, let's put it bluntly, or I would be listening to something and my girlfriend at the time and I did not have particularly similar musical taste. And she would get in and be like, what the fuck is this? And I would have to change it. One example you've already brought up, Duts, which was Basement Jaxx Red Alert. I fucking love that song. And
Brilliant.
yeah, I remember opening the door and being greeted with, what's this? Like, what's this? So 17-year-old me was often quite scared of what music I would have on when the door was opened. And I was a bit disappointed to think, what would I have been listening to then? And there was really only one thing that I think we agreed on at the time, which was, it would have been something by Stereophonics.
Ooh.
99 would have been like Performance and Cocktails.
Yeah.
But she wouldn't have liked the more rocky stuff. So it would have probably been Just Looking, I reckon.
Oh, such a great tune.
So
I saw them live last year. Amazing. Still as good as they were.
Yeah.
Still as good as they were. But I look back at 70 on me, and the thing I keep thinking is, you loser, you fucking loser. What you should have had on was like Miami by Will Smith, which you loved, or like California Love by like Tupac, or The Propeller Heads by James Bond. You know, I can't remember who did that. Was it? Yeah, Propeller Heads did On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I fucking love that.
That's
shit.
too
So yeah,
cool.
all I did was all this. Yeah,
Yeah.
oh no, that's the stuff I was listening to, but I was too scared to be myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. All you did was make me remind myself what a loser I was back then. So cheers, John. Thanks.
I thought you were going to go for Dodgy. You were such a
Should
big
have
Dodgy
stuck up
fan.
for myself.
Well,
I know
didn't
Dodgy.
know-
I did think about. Oh no, Dodgy probably would have come up, mate. They would have been. Dodgy were very much in that sort of stereophonics kind of, but she didn't like Dodgy, so I did. But yeah,
Right.
just
I
stuck
didn't
up
even,
to my
I
guns.
didn't, I didn't even have a car when I was 17. So, you know, you can, at least you had that.
There you go. That is important, isn't it? And actually, when you're 17, a car is sort of everything, isn't it? You know, and actually, the stuff you're playing on the stereo, which probably you've custom installed, you've cut out some cardboard.
That's what I was going to say.
Piece of crap back shelf, and you've put the 6x9 Alpines in there, and you've got a Clarion head unit, and you think that the world wants to listen to your music, which is invariably absolute shite.
Yeah.
That's where I was. I actually talked to my brother today, or texted my brother today, because we the Vauxhall Nova 1.2 SR, by the way, and the question was my brother's, right? So he was obviously 2.5 years older than me, so he was driving around when I sort of wanted to be driving, and was just looking into the distance to me driving, and we used to play some awful music. And we actually made a 1,000-watt bass box, and it was the entirety of his boot. It had a 15-inch sub and a 1,000-watt Alpine amp. It probably cost more than the Nova, and everybody knew what we were listening to when we were driving around. So yeah, but I mean, I went to ChatGPT as well. I was like, all right, what was the 90s? Remind me what was there. And some of the songs it brought up were just bollocks.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolute rubbish. And so, like, you know, to be fair, chart toppers that I just hated. I didn't know anyone who liked them. Things like "Believe" by Cher, or what else we got here? "Baby One More Time" by Britney Spears. "I Want You Back" by Melanie B. I mean, these are songs that I just don't give a shit about. I don't want anything to do with them. My choice. So I thought back and I was like, okay, well, actually, what was I really into at that point? And it was probably Blur. In the Blur versus Oasis battle, I was definitely Blur. But I listened to a bit today, and it is mental. It's not music that you want to listen to long term. So I quickly put that back in his box. I mean, go listen to Tracy Jacks now. It's one of the worst songs you'll hear in a long time, but I remember it being amazing.
I put Whole of Parklife on about 2 months ago in the garden. It was great.
Maybe you have to be in a particularly special mood.
I was very
so going back to the bass box is in the boot, right? And I've installed this amazing head unit, which I think is amazing. But of course, you pick up a girlfriend to go to the Harvester for dinner, and they don't give. Of course, they don't care about your stupid head unit that you've put in. You weird dork. But anyway, I want to show that off. So I had also chosen a Massive Attack song, but I hadn't chosen Teardrop because I thought it was too sad. But I did want to have something that was a bit edgy, a bit Bristol, and a bit cool. So I put on the Protection album, and I'd put Karma Coma as the tune, because it's sort of quite cool, background, good beats, shows off the performance of the bass box, as if anybody cared about that. But then the first lyrics are, "You sure you want to be with me? I've nothing to give." And I thought, all right, I better cancel that. That's not the best thing.
But isn't that post? Was that post 1999? I feel like it was
1994. Yeah. So
Wow.
or 96 or something like that. So it'd been around a while. But anyway, then I wanted to just show you guys something which it was really important to me at the time. So Sam, can we get the slide deck up? Because I don't know if you remember this. Like, it was sort of at the end of rave culture in 97, 98, and my brother had these massive folders full of cassettes. Do you remember these?
Yeah. So I used to have that. I used to have the Helter Skelter ones.
Yeah. Great. I mean, these were amazing, and you could get folders of these. This is the Dreamscape 20. It's, there's a lot of these around, and I'd just like to draw your attention to the middle left one, which was a tape by a DJ called DJ John of the Pleased Women. So I thought that might be appropriate. But I listened to it, and it's like super happy hardcore stuff, and probably not that fun for any other people.
That's amazing.
That's
well
cool.
done. That is amazing.
Yeah,
Nice.
But it's not my choice. My choice is actually "Round Here" by Counting Crows. Yeah, I remember because quite apart from the bass box in the boot, which isn't even remotely relevant when you come to talking about Counting Crows. Counting Crows "Round Here" reminds me of weeks on the beach in St Ives, where my buddy John had a place down there. His parents had a place down there. We were able to use it quite a lot. And Counting Crows was a song handed down by his sister to us, that this is the song that just represents the adventure of your life. This is where you live. This is who you're talking to. This is everything about your life right now. And it was a really good song. And I think girlfriends liked it as much as boyfriends.
Nice.
So that is my entry for the playlist.
Yeah, good job.
Very good.
I definitely had in my glove box 2 versions of The Truth of Music of Dan. One was entering the sixth form car park with said music to demonstrate how powerful my 6x9s were. And then there's the music for every other situation. I do remember, like, look, I've got to pull over. I've got to change it. I'm going to change the completely distracting LCD display of the dolphins in the Panasonic head unit that fly in, up the brightness so that when you kind of go to the car park and everyone like comes in like, oh, look at my head unit. It doesn't look cool. Yeah, if you drove with it, you'd crash within 5 minutes because it's so distracting. But a brilliant question. Really good. Very nostalgic. I thought it was excellent.
It brought back loads of great memories, actually, particularly when you showed those tapes. There's a really good Deaders. I always think this. Deaders will remember this. No, he won't. Right? Do you remember Ned Deaders?
Yeah.
No. Do you remember Ned? Right. Well done. Well done, you. Right. Ned and I went on a driving tour of the UK to visit people at universities. I still remember. I went to pick him up, and I can't remember what he was at UWE, actually, University of West of England. Wasn't clever enough to get into Bristol because he's a massive layabout. And I will happily say that live on this podcast, so I think he'd appreciate it. But he I remember turning up, and we had a 6-disc CD changer, and I put it with loads of good music in, and I can't remember what we had on it, but he got in the car, and he was like, what is this shit? Got a tape out, stuck it in the tape player, and it was a Happy Hardcore tape. And I then drove around the whole country, and we saw loads of our mates. And I remember when I dropped him off, he went, you can keep that because your music's shit. And brilliantly, I did keep it. And I've kept it all this time until very recently. Ned lives back around here, and our kids play rugby. And obviously, I now have a tape player in my car. And I picked him up, he and his son, and I turned to him and I went, look what I've got here. And it still worked.
That's amazing.
25 years later, we listened to Happy Hardcore with our kids in the back wondering what on earth was going on as we had a brilliant trip to go and play a rugby match. So
that's great.
Those tapes are just, I've obviously, you know this, I've got loads of tapes now, the Jag's full of them, and I get so much pleasure listening to them. I've even got, actually, even right here, right now, I've got Michael Crichton, the audio book up, so I'm sure you would enjoy that. Jake listens to it before he goes to bed.
I love it. Is
Got a
that,
tape deck
that's what this
right next to me
about?
here. Yeah.
Can you drive
Anyway,
the Jag long
sorry.
enough to actually hear a story?
I haven't turned it on for a while, but the battery has been disconnected. Tomorrow is Turn the Jag On Day, so I'm very excited
Excellent.
about that.
I can just randomly, I can lend you the full box set of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy on tape.
Well, that'd be cool. That'd
Yeah.
be really cool. If you lend it to me, I might not give it back. At the
You
moment,
can
my tape collection just appears to be absorbing. People just keep giving me tapes, knowing that I still listen to them. So,
fair.
Dennis, do you remember tapes? Or do you remember anything from those
I
days?
used to love them, and I feel like this might be a question for a future Last of the Line. Are we the last generation to make playlists for people on tapes or CDs and share them? Yes, there's Spotify. Yeah, some people use it. Is it the same? Do we get as much enjoyment out of it? Like, I had tapes and then CD wallets in my car that I've ended up like ripping and making the playlists out of those CD players. They were great. Shitty combinations of music you threw on and then would just listen to for 12 years, or like 2 albums shoved on one CD. You just hear over and over and over again. That stuff was awesome. I reckon we should get into that on a future episode. I'd love to hear more about this.
Sounds good. Well, I wonder if that is an excellent point to end on. Chaps, was brilliant. Again, as always, very, very, very enjoyable.
Bravo.
So let's do a little bit of a wave, because that will really help me edit it and work out that we finished. So,
Always enjoyable.
all right, chaps. See you in a sec.
See you next time.